Hello, good morning, and welcome to the AM show, a day after the 2026 budget was read. I'm sure you listened to the budget and your expectations were met. Maybe some of the expectations too were not, but averagely, what is your thoughts of the 2026 budget? Let's hear from you later on the show, but just go on to our social media handles and leave your comment there. What do you make of the 2026 budget? Does it inspire hope in you that the jobs that you're looking for particularly will be created from 2026, and that this budget really sends you that particular hope that you've been looking for? We'll be delving more into it later on, but we'll start the show always with the AM news. After that, we'll bring you the AM sports, and then we'll delve into what the papers are reporting today. Now, we'll bring you the stories that made the headlines in the newspapers and portals, and then we jump into our big story. Government embarks on a major VAT reforms that is set to see the abolition of the COVID-19 levy, and by this reform provide a financial benefit of almost 6 billion Ghana cedis to the private sector and consumers, including you and myself. Is there a real multiplier effect of this particular move? Plus, Finance Minister reviews the setting up of the Office of Value for Money Audit to provide cost benchmarks and also impose punishment for waste and fraud. We'll discuss this and many more highlights of the 2026 budget as presented by the Finance Minister, Dr. Kisiel Ato-Forson. Our guest for today, Professor Isaac Body, is Dean Accounting and Finance, UPSA. GJJ Fiajo is partner, Tax Services, PwC. Amos Osei Ansa is Associate Director, KPMG. EDAS, that's the International Development Advisory. And the man who many refer to as an economic wizard, who has recently been brought to the Finance Ministry to help in the stabilization that we're seeing. Dr. Theo Champon is technical advisor at the Ministry of Finance. He will be joining us as well to break down the issues for us. Hamza Suwini is lawyer and member of the NDC communications team. He will also be here. And then when we dissect the issues, we'll let you have your say. So join us with your thought on our social media handles as we go through post-budget analysis here on the AM show. My name is Samuel Kojo Brace, and it's always an honor to welcome you to the show. Do stay tuned. Let's start with the AM news.
Hello, good morning, and welcome aboard to AM News. My name is Denisia Pomaiji. In our very first story, the government has announced a raft of major economic reforms, including the scrapping of the COVID-19 levy and the reduction in the effective VAT rate. Finance Minister Kisiel Ato-Forson made the announcement when he presented the 2026 budget to Parliament on Thursday.
Finance Minister Dr. Kisiel Ato-Forson opened his 2026 budget presentation with a sharp critique of the previous Akufo-Addo government, accusing it of leaving behind what he described as a ticking time bomb economy.
We met an economy in distress, weighed down by debt, weakened by mismanagement, and stripped of confidence. Mr. Speaker, in the 2025 budget...
On the economy itself, the government says it has begun the rationalization of the VAT system, a move expected to reduce the effective VAT rate on all goods and offer much needed relief to businesses.
The new VAT reforms will do the following. We will abolish the COVID-19 health recovery levy. Mr. Speaker, we will abolish the decoupling of Get Fund and National Health Insurance levies from the VAT tax base. So, Speaker, we will abolish VAT on recognizance and prospecting of minerals.
The Finance Minister announced the abolition of the COVID-19 levy as part of efforts to ease the tax burden while pledging to widen the tax net to capture more eligible Ghanaians. He also hinted at plans to re-enter the domestic bond market, where the Bank of Ghana expected to help stabilize key economic indicators.
The Bank of Ghana will stay data-driven and cautious, holding inflation within the targeted band of 8 ±2 and easing only when safe. Speaker, Central Bank is doing a good job.
In the energy sector, Dr. Kaisel Atoforsen disclosed that power purchase agreements that have long drained the economy have all been successfully renegotiated.
Mr. Speaker, for the first time, we are not accruing new arrests in energy sector. The Electricity Company of Ghana revenues has risen almost 90% from 900 million to 1.7 billion Ghana cedis per month.
The finance minister noted that ECG's revenue collection has improved and government will now focus on reviving declining oil production to boost energy output.
Ghana's oil production has witnessed consistent decline over the years, falling from 71.4 million barrels in 2019 to an estimated 36 million barrels in 2025, almost 50% decline. President Mahama has taken decisive action to reverse this trend.
One of the biggest highlights was the 24-hour economy, the flagship initiative of President Mahama. The finance minister reaffirmed government's commitment to the policy, announcing plans to build new factories and restrict the export of raw materials to spur local processing and job creation.
3 new garment factories in Bono East, Central and Eastern regions will be established to operate under the 24-hour economy. To strengthen local manufacturing, export of non-ferrous scrap metals and raw rubber will be restricted under the Feed the Industry program. 7 new agro-processing plants in the Northern, Central, Ahafo, Bono, Northeast, Bono East, and Western North regions will soon be fully operational.
In Agric, the government plans to establish farmer service centers nationwide and procure modern farm equipment to boost productivity.
The government will provide agriculture mechanization machinery for 50 agricultural districts with over 4,400 different machineries. Mr. Speaker, these machineries will include the following. Mr. Speaker, we'll be getting 660 tractors, 3,000 tractor trailers, 200 mini tractors.
Under the Big Push agenda, the major infrastructural drive and Accra-Kumasi Expressway was announced.
Ghana's first modern 6-lane bi-directional Class A expressway, stretching 198.7 kilometers. The Accra-Kumasi Expressway will link the capital to the Ashanti region.
In education, government will begin phasing out the double-track system and embark on a massive retooling of schools to enhance teaching and learning.
Mr. Speaker, government is rolling out a 2-year program to end the double-track system in our secondary schools. Mr. Speaker, under this program, we will upgrade Category A schools by building new classroom blocks. We will upgrade 10 Category B schools to Category A, equipping them with modern classrooms. We will accordingly upgrade 30 Category C schools to Category B. Mr. Speaker, we will build new classrooms, dormitories, and modern science resource centers.
On the health front, Dr. Kaisel Atoforsen announced the construction of 6 new regional hospitals and the completion of 10 Agenda 111 hospitals started under the previous administration.
Mr. Speaker, government will begin the construction of 6 new regional hospitals for 6 newly created regions, beginning with 3 hospitals in 2026 and 2 district hospitals at Bole and Shama. Mr. Speaker, also in 2026, government will complete 10 Agenda 111 hospitals. We will continue the General Hospital, Efiem Kwanta Hospital in Sekondi Takoradi Metropolis.
The security sector will also see significant investment in 2026 with plans to retool the Ghana Armed Forces and the Fire Service to improve national security readiness.
For the Air Force, procurement will begin immediately in 2026 for 4 new helicopters and 2 aircraft to enhance airlift. Government will retool the Ghana National Fire Service with 100 fire tenders and assorted fire equipment.
However, the finance minister also revealed that some corruption cases are under investigation, promising government's commitment to accountability.
An equivalent of 31 billion US dollars in transactions were transferred abroad with no goods imported into the country. Mr. Speaker, this leaks bleeds our reserves.
The minority, in a sharp response after the budget presentation, dismissed the 2026 budget as a lamentations budget, claiming it offered little hope to the Ghanaian people.
After several months on the job, he came to repeat the same lamentation, part 2 of his lamentation. When the minister himself is a minister, is a member of parliament, and fails to recognize the parliament and its work, and you say we should hail you. Look at the ministers and their faces. Mr. Speaker, 2025, he should tell us the releases he gave them. When he was mentioning some of the figures, the ministers were looking as if this is the first time they were seeing the figures. Was there any consultation? Mr. Speaker, was there any consultation?
But the majority leader fired back, insisting the budget lays the foundation for economic recovery and renewed growth.
It is not lamentations. It is the continued unearthing of the bad economic management of the NPP that is being revealed every day. Mr. Speaker, it is obvious from the budget statement that the NPP government was the worst case study of bad economic management.
Dr. Kesela Tofosen's 2026 budget paints a picture of optimism, tax reliefs, infrastructural promises, and an ambitious 24-hour economy. But as always, the real test will be in delivery and whether the numbers will match the rhetoric in the months ahead.
Away from Parliament, the Minister of State for Climate Change and Sustainability, Isifu Seidu, is pushing for the establishment of climate and sustainability units in all ministries to strengthen nationwide adaptation and mitigation efforts. He says stakeholder consultations have begun and the rollout will start once Cabinet gives approval, extending from national ministries to district assemblies. Speaking to Joy News at COP30 in Brazil, Honorable Seidu noted that the initiative will drive both adaptation actions and also meaningful behavioral change in communities.
We are also pushing that we should have, climate and sustainability unit in all the ministries in Ghana. We should have that in all the ministries in Ghana, so that once we have that, they will be championing together with the departments and agencies under these ministries. They will be championing the sectoral climate-related issues. So what we're doing is that we've already had engagement, stakeholder engagement with all the ministers, and the ministries. And we're working on a document that is going to Cabinet. Once it gets to Cabinet and we get the endorsement, these units will be institutionalized. And we're even looking at the district assemblies. How do we champion locally led adaptations? How do we ensure community sensitization? And that is why we need to have the localized units at the district assemblies. They will be engaging these communities on a sustainable basis. And once we do that, behaviors will begin to change.
Away from COP30 in Brazil, the Ministry of Education is set to introduce digital education at the basic level as part of efforts to expand the existing digital policy already in use in TVET and also STEM schools. Technical advisor to the Ministry of Education, Professor George K.T. Odro, disclosed this at the launch of the National Digital Academy, organized by the African Digital Education Network. Mamavi Sefakote has the rest of the story.
Speaking at the National Digital Education Conference in Accra, technical advisor to the Ministry of Education, Professor George K.T. Odro, emphasized that it is time for learners at the basic level to be included in Ghana's existing digital policy already being implemented in technical and vocational education and training TVET institutions, and science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM schools, as it is an integral part of education.
Said if you take secondary curriculum, take TVET, it is there, it has started. It forms an integral part of our curriculum. When you come to the foundational level, that is where we have a gap, and that is where the ministry's attention, in fact, the minister says that the digitally skilled adult you want at age 80 should begin at age 6. It is when you start early that you will be able to mold the child, support the child to develop skills in technology that will help him or her survive and meet challenges as they grow.
He further explained that expanding digital education will strengthen Ghana's education system and improve learning outcomes.
If we do not make it an integral part of the curriculum to guide teaching and learning, children will explore things themselves and they will develop with some character which may not fit our cultural values, and which may not prepare them well for adult life. And so it is very necessary that our curriculum is tuned to equip young ones, to empower them to develop the skills of technology, educational technology, digital learning, so that they can cope with current demands of teaching and learning. Yeah.
General Manager of the Africa Digital Education Network, Pim de Box, also shared how the conference will contribute to Ghana's education transformation agenda.
The main objective really for us is that the people that join us today, either here offline or through the live stream on Facebook, really feel empowered to take the lead, dare to make the next step on that journey towards digital learning, in changing education in Ghana.
The National Digital Conference, organized by the African Digital Education Network, was held under the theme Building the Future of Digital Education Together. Mama V. Safakote's report for Joy News.
And to some other stories. The country director of Farm Access Ghana, Dr. Maxwell Entry, has disclosed that hypertension has now emerged as the leading cause of death among adults in Ghana, according to a new national mortality analysis. Now, presenting the findings at the 67th Annual General Conference of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Entry cautioned that most of those affected fall within the nation's economically productive age bracket, warning that rising burden of hypertension could result in major social and economic losses if urgent preventive measures are not taken.
The 7th Annual General Conference of the Ghana Medical Association, held at the University of Cape Coast, was on a theme, Strengthening Public-Private Partnerships for Sustainable Healthcare Delivery. Day 4 of the week-long conference featured presentations from several pharmaceutical companies. Speaking on the topic, Innovative Financing Models for Healthcare, the country director for Farm Access Ghana, Dr. Maxwell Entry, described the National Health Insurance Scheme as Ghana's main healthcare financing mechanism.
So if you look at Ghana, our main demand-side financing mechanism is the National Health Insurance Scheme. Currently, 55% plus of Ghana's population are covered. I always say that, in Ghana, it is the NHIS that get the most votes every year. 55% of Ghanaians vote for the National Health Insurance Scheme, irrespective of all the challenges we have. They vote for the National Health Insurance Scheme every year. This is the aspiration of every presidential candidate, to get 55% of the population voting for it. But the National Health Insurance Scheme gets that. Why? It's because if you look at our history, over the last 22 years, the NHI has been very innovative in working with partners to go through a certain cycle of iteration. In 2005, 2008, thereabouts, started with credentialing tools and digitalized them. And then enrollment digitalization. I remember years ago when we used to enroll people in the northern part of Ghana, a farmer who traveled 5 kilometers with a bicycle and a chicken at the back, just so that he can spend 3-4 days at the NHI center to get registered. Now you can do it using a short code. And that has really transformed how the NHIS has evolved.
Dr. Ainchi further identified pregnancy and delivery and hypertension as the country's leading health cost drivers, revealing that new data indicates hypertension is now the leading cause of mortality in the country.
The data that has been released from our mortality statistics also show that the number one cause of death among adults in Ghana is now hypertension. So not only is it reflecting in our bills, but it's also reflecting in our mortality data. So how do we use the monies that we have much more efficiently going forward? If you look at the population that is hit by hypertension, about 1 out of 3 adult Ghanaians have hypertension. And these are the productive economic age groups. And if they suffer complications, then we call something disability-adjusted life years. And death-adjusted life years. It's really an economic loss to lose people in their young age to either complications or death. And by solving this, we protect our fragile domestic national economy.
From Cape Coast, Abigail Lisol Nkrumah reports for Joy News.
From health, let's move to sanitation. Upper West Regional Minister Charles Luanga Posin has expressed concern over the state of sanitary conditions in the region. Speaking at the commissioning of 47 boreholes at Kusele in the Nandom municipality of the Upper West region, he expressed satisfaction with the region's attainment of over 74% water coverage. He is, however, not enthused about the sanitation situation, urging municipal and district assemblies to institute sanitation bylaws to deal with offenders. Joy News' Upper West Regional correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
To the benefit of the people and maintain it to the best of their capability.
The symbolic commissioning of the borehole at Kusele forms part of 47 other boreholes drilled by SMV Netherlands Development Organization in the Lambusi, Lora, and Nandom municipalities. It was undertaken under the Building Climate Adaptation Capacities Project funded by the European Union and the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, BMZ. Project manager of SMV, Teresa Swansea Bafwa, speaking on behalf of the country director of SMV, noted that the commissioning of the boreholes are not only opening water points, but opportunities for good health, learning, dignity, and for growth as well.
Through this project, we have constructed 23 boreholes across Lora, Lambusie, and Nandom. Beyond that, we've also trained water and sanitation management teams to ensure community-led maintenance. We've supported over 1,000 farmers with timely climate information to improve food security, and we've also promoted locally made composting, fire management, and sustainable farming practices that protect the environment. And as today we have members from the Ghana Fire Service and then also Agriculture Department with us. Indeed, we can clearly see that the BCAC project is an example of how local priorities, when matched with strong partnerships, can transform communities.
Upper West Regional Minister Lawyer Charles Wonga Posun commended SMV Netherlands Development Organization for the plethora of projects that are bettering the lives of the people, whilst expressing joy over the region's attainment of over 74% water coverage. Lawyer Charles Wonga Posun is however not enthused with that of sanitation, urging municipal and district assemblies to institute bylaws to deal with sanitary offenders.
As a region, our performance in the water delivery service is so impressive, recording above 74.5% regional water coverage. But that cannot be said about sanitation. This is the most reason why I wish to reiterate my appeal to all to graciously embrace His Excellency the President's National Sanitation Day program, which falls on every first Saturday of the month. Let me use this opportunity once again to renew my appeal to all municipal and district assemblies to make adequate budgetary allocation to sanitation-related activities in their areas of jurisdiction.
GIZ Reach Project Manager Matthias Bertold stated that the partnership with SMV is a demonstration of communities, local authorities, and development partners can bring lasting change to the lives of the people.
So through the community action planning process, you, the people of Kusele, among more than 200 other communities, have identified your unique challenges, set your priorities, and developed your own local action plans. It was through this process that the need for this water facility was clearly expressed. And today, you see the result of your vision, your perseverance, and your partnership.
Nandom Municipal Chief Executive Anthony Zinel sees the opportunity to speak about the indiscriminate felling of trees, urging the people to desist from the act.
I wish to call on our chiefs to help us fight the indiscriminate felling of trees, including commercial trees for firewood and charcoal, which is gradually degrading our environment. I am saying this here because this area is one of the areas noted for such things. We must all take an interest in curbing these menace, as it inheres in the benefit of the sea, but the repercussions affect all of us.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam, Kusele.
And that's all we have for you on today's edition of AM News. But right after AM News is sports. And today, we have an exclusive interview with the president of the Sports Writers Association of Ghana. And that's Kwabena Yeboah. Well, he sat with Joy Sports editor Nathaniel Atto. My name is Denise Apomaije. If you want more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. Enjoy.
Thank you so much for staying with us on all of our platforms, and we're grateful to you to keeping faith with us, and I'm glad to welcome you to another special edition here on Joy 99.7 FM and also on the Joy Prime channel and Joy News. We're also happy to be with all of our friends who are joining us from all over the world on YouTube, and this is the longest running program on this 30-year-old network. It's been 30 years of Joy, and today we're glad to be associated with an organization that is also celebrating a similar milestone, which is even bigger in the sense that they've chalked 5 decades of existence. And I'm talking about the legendary and very well established Sports Writers Association of Ghana SWAG Awards. Just in case you do not know, the SWAG Awards is the longest running award scheme in this country, 50 years. And for 50 years, they've been running so strong and have grown a very credible platform that has been controversy-free and has been very, very effective in terms of giving big accolades to our sportsmen and women and administrators, and been the major recognition platform for sport in this country. Well, some have come, some have gone, but as we speak in the year of 2025, fate has it that the legendary Kwabena Yeboah, a journalist of many years who has grown an amazing track record and is also running one of the longest running sports programs on television with the national broadcaster GTV, is my guest today. The president of the Sports Writers Association of Ghana, Kwabena Yeboah, makes a return here to the special Joy Sports link for this very special edition after so many years. Writer, thank you so much.
Thanks, lad.
I now realize why it rained during the week, because I realized that some surprise rain came, because we haven't seen Writer on this show for ages. Good to have you here.
Nice.
Good to have you here.
Good.
Let's begin, before we get into the SWAG issues, let's begin with you. I mean, the other day I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I said to him, look, it's a big privilege to sit with you because I grew up on your content, I grew up on your voice, I grew up on your presentation, and today I also find myself in the same space. And you're still running strong, wearing the nice suits and the nice ties, every other Monday evening. This is something else.
Well, I think I must give thanks and praises to God for giving me a job that I love doing. I don't even call it a job. It's more of a hobby. I enjoy what I do. So anytime I'm asked this question, I talk about the fact that this is divine intervention. Because growing up, I never planned of entering journalism. I didn't even know about that. as an Nkoko boy. I didn't know what journalism was about. My entire dream was about law. And I was fortunate to have parents who lived in the UK. So my daddy lived all his life in Manchester and got me a school in Manchester. Tickets were brought to me. At that time, the ticket was 6,000 cedis those days. And I remember my daddy giving me £30 to pick bus from London to Manchester. I went to the British Embassy for a visa. For some strange reason, I decided not to go. My daddy never forgave me for that. But I think as a person of faith, God was preparing me for this job. And I do not regret at all. So for someone who I was so keen of studying law, suddenly finding myself practicing journalism, sports journalism specifically, I can only say that as divine intervention. And the
divine intervention indeed. But before you go into the beautiful thing, right, you know, I think you probably would have made a fine lawyer. I'm sure your age mates and your colleagues and even journalism say this to you all the time. I mean, I can imagine you going through the seasoned legal training traditions in the United Kingdom, you know, from the Middle Temples to the Inner Temples and Gray's Inn, Lincoln's Inn and all of that. You know?
I can understand that. I remember having an interview with Kwame Sefa about 2 decades ago when he was at Radio Gold. And I raised the same issue and somebody said, it's not too late. They can still go and practice law. But I think that we cut it in different forms, different shades. And I want to stick to sports journalism. It won't be too bad. Also, adding the legal aspect. But at the end of the day, I think I enjoy what I do. But what many people do not know, I think a few people recollect my days as a print journalist with the All Sports newspaper. That was as far back as 1979, 1980. But
I was still not born, by the way. No.
but that was more of, I didn't know that I was even going to take it seriously moving forward. I just enjoyed writing for the paper at the time until I started taking it seriously. And then I joined a paper called Sports and Lotto. That would be around 1980, 81. And then I founded the Guide, Sports Guide, which metamorphosed into Daily Guide. And then set up my own newspaper, the Africa Sports, for a very long time until it fizzled out. You know, now you don't find any sports paper on the market. It's a long story. The electronic media is taking over. And then I transitioned from the print media to the electronic, specifically GBC. And it's a reason during the Sports Award, this President's Award is going to a personality who will be chucking 90 years on the day, Henry Ako. We call him Koche. He, in quote, discovered me and discovered quite a number of us. So I used to play table tennis every afternoon at the Accra Sports Stadium when he came there.
Dramani Hall.
That's Dramani Hall. And decided he needed me on TV. I wasn't too sure whether I was cut for that job. So I had to go and speak to Lotin Akayosu, who was then the FA chairman at the time. And I said I wasn't too sure whether I could do it. And he encouraged me to go there. So Henry Ako at that time, in quote, discovered quite a number of us. So Moses Formani was brought on board. Kwakufu Swasari was brought on board. Comrade Japan was brought on board. Papa Pencil was brought on board. And Safa Babrese, may his soul rest in peace. So Henry Ako Koche discovered all of us at that time.
Wow.
And we started, at that time, punditry on TV. But let me say this, not many people are even aware that Comrade Japan,
Engineer Comrade Japan,
the politician, he was so much into sports at the time.
Yes, I remember.
And hosted Sports Allies for some time.
Yes, I remember very well.
And he introduced punditry on TV. Many people didn't know. You know, I think he had to pick the idea from the UK. So he came down and felt that before matches, we could preview those matches. So we started it all around 1990. And then he was the host at the time. No, he was not. It was Edward Fachi. Because those days, in quote, young people were not allowed to host programs. So Eddie Fachi hosted the program. Brilliant, brilliant leader, Eddie Fachi. So Comrade Japan was on the panel, together with myself, Carl Tufo, and Papa Pintel. And shockingly, Papa Pintel at a point was getting off the program because he had predicted Cameroon would lose to Argentina. That was in 1986. No, 1990.
1990 in
Argentina
Italy.
had won the World Cup in 1986, led by the legendary Diego Maradona. 1990, they were the defending champions.
Yeah, I remember the pre-match formalities and all the antics that Maradona did with the ball.
That's right. Against Cameroon, and Papa had predicted that Argentina were going to beat Cameroon. And we all know the story.
Then it ended up 1-0 against Argentina.
Absolutely, Oman Biak. And Argentina lost by 1-0. And Papa Pintel became public enemy number one. And a whole editorial was written on him that he was anti-revolutionary, that he didn't understand the African dream, the Pan-Africanism he just didn't understand. So he was kicked off the air. I mean, that's how far we have come. These days, people go on air and say all manner of things.
And they come back and apologize.
Freedom of speech, and for just predicting. And any neutral, objective, principled pundit would definitely go for Argentina, who are the defending champions. Not just defending champions. Maradona was at his peak.
Exactly.
With Buruchaga and all those players. Who was ever going to predict for Cameroon? But he was kicked off the program for making that prediction. We continued, we protested, but nobody would listen to us, but we continued. And Comrade Japan was absolutely brilliant until he left the scene around 1994 when I took over on Sports Highlights. And this is
here
where
we
find
are.
ourselves, yeah.
Amazing, amazing. The upward surge of new media, social media, digital journalism, and how it has fizzled out some forms of, sports news consumption and all of that. That also, we're just reflecting on it off air, and it's just amazing the way things are done so differently, and now news is consumed faster because of technology, and you see digital media at the heart of it.
The times have changed. I mean, if you talk about SWAG, for instance, SWAG, when I joined SWAG, we're no more than 20 people, the whole nation, because basically the print media. And if you didn't belong to the print media, of course, you were not even allowed. You didn't have that space. Of course, we had the likes of Joe Latte, who was at GBC, and Alabi, local. He was like running commentary at GBC. Just a few of them. But it was basically the print media. And then over time, we had the proliferation of radio, which changed the dynamics of journalism in this country. And then social media, new media. So the terrain is completely changed. And there's a reason you don't find any sports paper on the market as we speak. Because it's either online or there are bloggers. Times have completely changed. And I think, well, the world is not static, so you move with the times. And we accept that. So SWAG itself is gone through all those phases. So instead of SWAG members just coming from the print media, now it's more of the electronic chaps. And the face of SWAG is completely changed.
Well, if you just joined us, we're having this conversation with the legendary Kwabena Yeboah. He is the president of the Sports Writers Association of Ghana. We're celebrating 50 years of the SWAG Awards. It's the longest running awards platform across board in our country, Ghana. And in a couple of days, the whole nation will come together with dignitaries from all over the world, including the president of AIPS. He will be joining us here as we give honor to whom deserve it, over the last sporting year and also over this 5-decade period. So it's a big milestone for Kwabena Yeboah personally and also for the whole organization. But we're starting off the conversation digging into the past years and how sports journalism has evolved. Kwabena Yeboah has been telling us about the experiences of the national broadcaster, his life in print before zooming in there. And it's just amazing how, this conversation about new media and how it has changed the face of things and, changed the way we even consume news has happened. Writer, the bit about professionalism and how it looks like new media may have brought with it that baggage which we all need to deal with. because back in the time when you were active in print, and anybody who did print before doing, broadcasting and other forms of electronic, would go through several processes before the newspaper goes to bed. That's great. Now somebody has a phone. They come. They write a bit of wrong grammar with some wrong designations in there, and they put these videos out there, and that is not to say that's not what's happening every day, but right. We have these incidents and all of that, and it looks like that's baggage that has been brought with new media.
Well, it's a challenge the sports writers have decided to confront, and only a couple of days ago, the president of the AIPS, which is the umbrella body of all sports journalists around the world, Gianni Mello, will be coming to raise the occasion for us. He raised the issue, the importance of bringing in all the content creators into SWAG for some form of training, because it's very, very important. As you rightly pointed out, in the past, we all went through very, very rigorous training. And apart from that, you had your editors, your sub-editors, so your write-ups even went through scrutiny before the final consumption by the consumer. So it was a very, very strict regimen. Times have changed. And it doesn't mean that we no longer have the professionals. I think journalism, sports journalism these days, is more dynamic, is more vibrant, but there are excesses we have to deal with. And that is what SWAG intends to do. Because of that, we have encouraged all these content creators to belong to SWAG, so we take them through training processes. For example, when I took over as the SWAG president, one of the things I said was that my tenure was not going to be defined by just the award ceremony year after year, by the training programs that we offer, our members. So we started by roping in all members across the nation. In the past, sports journals were just limited to Accra. So we had to go on a nationwide campaign. We've been to the Ashanti region to organize the Ashanti group. We've been to the Eastern region. We've been to the Northern region, the Western region, the Central region. So we have branches across the length and breadth of this country. And what we have done is to organize training programs, and we've been privileged to have the support of the corporate world. So we've been to all these regions to organize training programs. We've had the likes of Kuku Sichadu to educate us about the tenets of the profession, about press law. We've had the former president of the Ghana Bar Association, Shabuafo, educate us. So every now and then we have lecturers and personalities to come and lecture us as we organize programs. Not just that. The AIPS has programs for journalists. So quite a number of our members have benefited from these programs. A number of them have been to Brazil, to Uruguay, to Argentina, to England, on a regular basis to bring them to that international level, because times have changed and we cannot allow those who haven't had that training, we can't leave them behind. So it's a major, major responsibility and a vision that I carry, and I'm sure together with our leadership, to ensure that we bring everybody on board. It's not going to be easy because, as you rightly said, because it's a voluntary organization, it's not everybody who has decided to join us. So we keep encouraging. And in the next few days, for instance, we've scheduled a meeting with the content creators to bring them on board. So when our international president comes to town, we intend meeting them to ensure that there is a strong level of discipline and dedication, commitment to the profession, so that you don't just believe that you're just there to create content, but it comes with responsibilities. Because without that kind of training, not many of the members are even aware of what constitutes the press law. So what constitutes libel? What constitutes slander? Many of the guys, because of the lack of training, do not even know. So they go on air, for instance, and call somebody a thief, that you're a thief. They don't even know that the onus of proof lies on you. You can call somebody a thief, but once you are dragged to court for defamation, for slander, it's not a question of whether you think you are right or wrong. The onus of proof is on you. But I'm sure that some of these excesses are committed because they do not understand, what it takes to really get out there as a top professional. So that responsibility lies squarely on our shoulders to ensure that we bring everybody on board for that level of training locally and internationally.
Well, talk about those who have trained. I mean, you mentioned good old Kweku Sechiado. Kweku Sechiado is also one of the voices that have contributed greatly to our platforms here at the Multimedia Group. And he used to say something in some of his interviews. He used to say this about you, that when in the early years, anytime he wanted to have big interviews and mention, I mean, he wanted to interview the, unquote, quote unquote, the big people in our society, he had you to hold his hand and take him along. And that brings me to the question of the fulfillment that one gets from sports journalism, because you have rightly mentioned that law was something you projected and it beckoned at several stages of your life, but you decided to stay focused on sports journalism. The element of networking that sports brings you and fulfillment, tell us your version of it.
It's quite interesting. Kweku keeps telling this story.
Yeah.
And I think on an occasion he went to Legon for a lecture, and he was asked who inspired him in his life as a journalist. And he said many of the students were expecting to mention some high-profile names abroad. So when he mentioned my name, they were a bit surprised. And he came and told me how I would hold his hand to personalities like Asad Mala, Mr. Kotoko, and then Jay Kufo those days, because Jay had become the chairman of Asante Kotoko those days. You know, so talking about networking, I remember His Excellency Jay Kufo, former president of this land, when he decided to he had a vision of becoming the president. And he also loved football, and then decided to head Asante Kotoko. But I do know that his knowledge at the time probably wasn't very, very deep. And I really, really had great affection for the gentle giant. I really, really loved him. I've loved him all my life.
We all do.
So absolutely. I mean, such a wonderful personality.
Yes, exactly.
So I would go to his house almost every single morning to talk to him about sports and what he was getting into. And he really, really appreciated the advice I was always giving him. So he decided, as a chairman of Kotoko at the time, almost all the trips, his trips had to be with him, because he needed me very, very closely to continue advising. I remember on one of such trips, we went to Algeria, Kotoko against JSK. And when we got there and he saw the infrastructure of JSK, their hotels, their training facilities, their pitches, he came to me and asked me, it's like, Kabina, we muna inyom bebo. And now we a bit team. We say we'll be playing them. We can handle them. And that day we lost by 2 goals to 0. We won the first leg by 1 goal to 0. So
they had to progress. Yes.
And we went to places like Sierra Leone, like Morocco. And it was during his time that I remember he organized what we call the chartered flight. We went to Morocco. I'm sorry, but we traveled with about 100 fans. Only one returned, unfortunately. So I had a good time with him. And I learned a lot from the former leaders, especially of Asante Kotoko. And I remember a personality like Sims Kofi Mensah, who took over the team from 1980 to 1983 when Bewa took over. I was always in his office. What many people didn't know was that the great Ohinijan, he had contracted Ohinijan to his office, and Ohinijan was helping him run Kotoko. Not many people did know. And it was such a successful reign. Before he took over, Hearts were constantly beating Asante Kotoko. Those were the days of the fearsome fivesome. And I was privileged. I was then a ball boy of Asante Kotoko from 1974-75 to about 1978-79, when Hearts were constantly beating Kotoko, the fearsome fivesome, the great Mohamed Polo, Anna Seidu, Mamakwa, Robert Hammond, Peter Lamte. Kotoko simply could not stand them. Constantly they were beating Kotoko until Sims took over and decided to change the face of the club. So he roped in players like Kigi from Acotex, Ohene Basian, and then he brought people like Opokunti, Albert Asase, Kofi Badu, Francis Kumi, and that was the first time, after that recruitment, was the first time Hearts lost by 3 goals to Kotoko at Accra Sports Stadium. And that is how Kotoko started winning the league from 1980, 81, 82, and won the cup in 1983, 84, won. So I've had that relationship with them. I had a relationship with almost every Kotoko leader. And so I learned a lot because I would go to them, find out precisely what they were doing and how they were running the club, the difficulties, how they were resolving problems. So I wasn't just writing, but in the process, I was also learning. And then there were some coaching courses I also attended. I remember when Maroski came to Ghana to handle the likes of Osam Dudu and Coach Afrani, I would sneak through and go and sit in class and learn some of these things. It's always important because as a sports journalist, it's important to understand the game, understand what you are reporting, so that you have a comprehensive idea of precisely what you are doing. So it's not a question of, it's not a part-time job, it's a professional job. And you must carry the game to your listeners or your viewers for them to appreciate what you're doing. If you don't have a deep understanding of the sport, you will be reporting.
Welcome to the AM show. Let's continue reviewing what the big stories are. But we'll start, of course, with what the papers are reporting this morning, and then we delve into, the real issues by analyzing what the budget, means for you, so that we can all understand where we are in terms of this budget that has been presented to us in Parliament. But let's start with the news review now. And the Daily Graphic says budget target growth in 2026 prioritizes agric, which is great there, agric transformation, infrastructure development. These two can really help move the economy forward. Get details of that story on page 3 of the Daily Graphic newspaper. On the front page, government to create 800,000 jobs. Whoa. Get details on page 13 of the paper. And also, Parliament approves Justice Bafo-Boni as new Chief Justice. So here we have it. Justice Bafo-Boni becomes the new CJ. All right, on the back page, 3.1 million cedis worth of onions wrought at Ajin Kotoku market. Really? 3.1 million worth of onions. Why? What happened? Well, get the story on the back page of the paper. From the Daily Graphic, let's do the Daily Guide newspaper. It says, Parliament okays Bafo-Boni. NSA scandal, gift your worry out. OCSB bail, now 623 million Ghana cedis. Whoa. Okay, get details of that story there. Now, budget is still being talked about here. 2026 budget statement, government unveils sweeping VAT reforms. I'm sure you followed the budget reading yesterday, and you heard about the VAT rationalization that the minister talked about, but we'll delve more into it here on the show. Government withdraws over 1.4 billion cedis from the District Assembly Common Fund account. That's according to the minority. So get the details of that story on page 6 of the paper there. And I hope you remember our former Vice President, Alhaji Aliyu Mahama. We're told that his 13th Adua comes off on Sunday. I think that will be 13 years since he passed on there. So join the family for them to, remember such a great man of our land. Let's do the custodian newspaper now. Minority accuses Atuforson of illegal 1.4 billion cedis DACF withdrawal. So get details of that story there. Government to spend over 357 billion Ghana cedis in 2026. What does that mean? The finance guys will break it down for us. Some of us, we are only farmers and journalists, right? So we'll get the finance people to help us understand or make sense of this. Minority demand suspension of military recruitment exercise. It comes with a picture of Reverend John in Team Fojo. It comes at the back of what the stampede that happened at the Elwak Stadium. And dragging for resident in Kumasi, unfair and unjust. Dr. Buako fumes. And Mahama unveils in Kukonketsenkete initiative to reduce poultry imports. I mean, I'm happy anytime I see import substitution initiatives, because we have a lot we can contribute in our own motherland, Ghana. And then the invitation to the 13th commemorative adua of the late former Vice President, His Excellency Aliyu Mahama will be coming. You're being invited. It's coming off on Sunday, 16 November 2025 at 9 a.m. at number 4 Switchback Road, Cantonment. Please be there. Special guest will be National Chief Imam Sheikh Osman Nuhu Shaributu there. But on the back page, government to create 800,000 jobs. That is there. Two Forces made a revelation. So you can get details of this story at the back page of the Custodian. Government may struggle to March 2025 budget discipline. Professor assuming. So I'll ask the professors here, the finance guys, will government struggle to maintain the discipline in this year? And Energy Ministry to distribute 457,000 LPG stoves to citizens in 2 years. All right, let's do the insights now. Ghana's 2026 budget presentation, government scraps COVID-19 levy. That was expected. It's been delivered. So we'll talk more about that. Says the economy has recovered. Confidence is returning. Over 1 million years of children's lives lost in Gaza during Israel's genocide. Steady finds. Whoa, 1 million anyway. Ghana's investment delegation concludes successful tour of India. Okay, EPA Deputy Director hails Mahama Amaboa. Okay, so the name is Amaboa. Applauds government united front against Galamsey. Eugene Entry vows to restore discipline and unity in the MPP. And a true pillar of dedication, celebrating Alhaji Osman Abdullah's service to Awutu Senya East NDC. Okay. Let's move on to other papers. The News Center. Mobile Money Fintech Limited to run MTN Ghana's mobile money business. Okay, all right then. Some good news happening in the fintech world. Detailed breakdown of how 357 billion cedis will be spent in 2026. News Center has taken its time to break it down for you. Story is on page 9 of that paper. 4.8% growth. 357 billion cedis expenditure, primary surplus of 1.5% of GDP in 2026, according to the Finance Minister, Dr. Ato Forsen. And I'm happy that we've empaneled some finance brains to help us break down the budget for you. So stay with us. Parliament approves Justice Paul Bafuboni as new CJ. Tana North MP condemns mass arrest in Ahafo region. And at the back page, it explains the 800,000 jobs government said it will create in 2026, and also the 401 million Ghana cedis allocated to Women's Development Bank in 2026 budget. And government allocate 5.1 billion cedis for cocoa support, 50 farmer centers, 200 million cedis for buffer stock company. This is to mop up the grains that we have in the system. Of course, farmers have been crying about the glut we have in the system. Okay, let's do other papers now here, and let me see. Okay, I think that my system is decided, but these are what the papers are reporting. You might as well. Let me try and see if okay, good. So the Catalyst says 2026 budget powers research agenda forward. So more of the papers are still talking about the 2026 budget, because of course it's the biggest story coming up. Now, NIMOS overpowers armed thugs in our win there. So these are the papers we have for you. Let's do Major Online, the CIMG News Portal of the year 2024. And if you go onto Major Online, it will blow your mind. Ato Forsen hints at explosive audit report to drop next week. It talks about some report that they did into some expenditure that they feel that the details are explosive. So watch out for that. How we have vetted Doomsday Finance Minister reviews $252 million rescue deal with IPPs. He says now they are, current when it comes to payment of, invoices being presented by the independent power producers. Again, 13 billion Ghana cedis ghost payment stopped. Hey, 13 billion. Ato Forson reviews fictitious heist caught before approval. Whoa, 13 billion cedis ghost payment. All right, get details of that story on myjoyonline.com. Now, if you are too popular with MDAs as finance minister, something is wrong. Ato Forson has been explaining. And Mahama administration isn't just stabilizing an economy, it's rebuilding a nation, according to the finance minister. And you know what? Away from that, KKD, you know him, the popular KKD, has been appointed Ghana's special envoy to the Caribbean. The legendary media personality and fashionista has been appointed as the Ghana special envoy to the Caribbean. I'm not in a hurry to go to the capital market and borrow Ato Forson, sir. So those are the details there by the papers. Let's now get into the details by welcoming in my guests who are already in studio. From my far left is the Dean of Accounting and Finance of UPSA, Professor Isaac Body. Prof, good morning.
Good morning.
Trust all is well.
Very well.
And thanks for joining us here.
Thank you.
And then Hamza Suwini. It's been some days since I met him. I don't know where he's been hiding, but you and I thought I would be in touch like that.
Of course. I traveled out briefly.
Oh, okay.
I'm back, so.
And how has it been?
It's been quite promising, and that strength of faith was further enhanced yesterday by the progressive presentation of Dr. Ato Forson, the Finance Minister of the Republic of Ghana. Not just the usual budgetary presentation, but yesterday we saw policy grounded in action. And we can only hope and pray that we get the needed support to drive the needed investments in our country and begin to change the fundamental structure of our economy. And I think that was the blueprint he presented to the Republic of Ghana yesterday. It is now our duty as citizens of the Republic of Ghana to partner effectively by taking advantage of the many opportunities that this budget throws out, to see how we can collectively, and even in our individual perspectives, support government to realize that overall objective of changing the structure of the Ghanaian economy. So for me, yesterday enhanced my faith in the ability of this country to turn things around, especially demonstrated in the last 10 months of the Mahama administration. So there's hope.
Okay. All right then. Amos Ose Wusu-Ansa is Associate Director, KPMG. EDAS as an International Development Advisory. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay. And I hope that, before the budget we spoke.
We did.
And now the budget has been presented, we're going to speak again. We're going to see whether or not what you expected were on.
Right.
We'll also be joined by Dr. Theo Achampon. He is Technical Advisor, Ministry of Finance. I don't know if Doc is on Zoom now. We'll be joining him. We'll be getting him shortly. But so let me come in studio. I'll start with Professor Body. Yeah. Prof, you listened to the budget as well. Were your expectations met?
Yeah, good morning once again to my colleagues and to your viewers as well. Before I even answer that question, I must thank your outfit for your support during our program. We had a program on EPSA, the Faculty of Accounting and Finance. We rewarded some trailblazers, people of excel in the banking and finance space. Anand Dani, and then Efa, and then Frankadu, and one Wilfred in the insurance space. So we are grateful for your support. Back to your question, I think just like any other Ghanaian, you may have expectations when budgets are about to be read. And I've been saying time and time again that we don't call this budget, they are called estimates. When we have the final approval from Parliament House, then we can say it's a budget. But now they are all estimates presented by the Minister of Finance. And that's a ritual thing that happens all the time. Let me make a few comments on this. My initial reaction had to do with the late presentation of the budget. Look at the time that these MPs had to sit. I mean, at a point, some were sleeping. They were tired, I'm sure, because of the earlier approval for the Chief Justice that dragged into late in the night. But I wish they could have had another opportunity, because this is a critical, I think it started around 5 or 6 or so and moved all the way to late in the night. So next time they should look at it very well. And then the minister's input from the market women, folks, 2 days to the time he had to do the exercise. It shouldn't be a top-down approach all the time. I've been in the government sector before. I've worked at a budget analyst for some assemblies. And we take inputs all the time. When you need input from the market force, you do it months or weeks. That will help with the input. At least it was a good attempt going to the market to get their views, but we can do better than that. Where are we now before you can even have expectation? Where are we as a country? We have achieved micro stabilization for a while. If you talk about exchange rates, it's reduced. If you look at inflation, it halved, deficit narrowed. So we can say we have seen some positive signs from this administration. Some targets that were set before the budget was read. We had targets, for instance, real GDP 4%. We have achieved 6.3 or so. We have non-oil growth about 4.8. It's almost about 7.8. Then we have that of excellent targets and achieving the GDP agric. It's almost about 9 points. I think agric is 5.3. And then if you look at service sector, we are looking at 2.3. And then where we have not performed well, agric and the service. So when the budget was about to read, I had expectations that the government would give us practical solutions to our problem. For instance, giving me solution to how we increase the capex, the capital allocations for projects. I was looking at that. And then in terms of quality of growth as a country, when a country, we are growing, but the growth is in the service sector, sometimes we have a problem, because the service sector will not employ more than any other sector. For instance, if you go to agric, that employs more. And if you increase your allocations or do well in agric, you are invariably helping boost production in the country. So these were my initial, where they met, I would say, well, in terms of the numbers we have seen, we have not had time. It was read yesterday. And this morning we had to take dawn, we had to read few pieces of the budget. We'll have a full-blown discussions in weeks ahead of us. And that is the Institute of Economic Research and Public Policy. We'll have a full presentation on the budget. But in terms of expectations, few things were met. But I think that allocations, and I tell people, if you want to really understand the budget, don't look at the budget. Look at the appropriation bill when they are passed. Because that is where the real allocations will be approved. These are the budget presented to the minister. And what we do in terms of budget, we only present revenue estimate, we present expenditure priorities, then the government will tell us key performance sectors, and then it gives us initiatives and reforms. That's what the budget will tell us. I was looking at real reforms of this administration. And the government tells us there will be acceleration of economic and transformation agenda. Microeconomic stabilization were some of the things that the government talked about. So on the whole, Yes, we have seen signs of recovery, but I was looking at practical approach that will move the country from just stabilization to growth trajectory. And if you're able to go by what the minister said, then we won't have a problem. But the point is that we are here to look at the few numbers that were projected in the budget statement. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I would come back to my other guests, but I'm told that we have Dr. Fia Champon on Zoom. Good morning to you and thanks for joining.
Morning, and morning to your panelists and Ghanaians as well. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can clearly, and congrats on your appointment. I think we haven't spoken since the appointment came. A lot of us are looking,
thank you.
We expect good things from you. We know what you can do, so we're happy for you.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. But before I come back to my panel, let me go for these clips. Dr. Stephen Amoah has been talking about the city. We'll also listen to the finance minister, and his take. And then about the fact that he says some 6 billion Ghana cedis will be put in the pocket of Ghanaians through the abolition of some taxes and levies. Listen to this one.
Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to report to this House that we have finally delivered on that promise. Mr. Speaker, after months of detailed analysis and broad consultations with stakeholders, we have completed the design of modernized VAT system fit for Ghana's economic transformation agenda. Mr. Speaker, government is therefore submitting to this House today and for approval, Mr. Speaker, a bold package of VAT reforms that will make our tax system more equitable, transparent, and business-friendly. Right, Honorable Speaker, the new VAT reforms will do the following. We will abolish the COVID-19 health recovery levy. Mr. Speaker, we will abolish the decoupling of GET Fund and National Health Insurance levies from the VAT tax base. Mr. Speaker, we will abolish VAT on recognizance and prospecting of minerals. Mr. Speaker, we will reduce the effective VAT rate from 21.9 to 20%. Mr. Speaker, we will raise the VAT registration threshold from 200,000 to 750,000 cedis. Mr. Speaker, we will extend VAT zero rating on the supply of local manufacturing textiles to 2028. Mr. Speaker, for emphasis, we promise to abolish the COVID-19 levy. With the support of this House, Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to say that I'm happy to announce that today, COVID-19 levy is accordingly abolished. Mr. Speaker, by abolishing the COVID-19 levy, government is putting 3.7 billion Ghana cedis in the pockets of individuals and businesses in 2026. Mr. Speaker, these reforms will also reduce the cost of doing business by as a result of subjecting GET Fund and NHIL levies to input businesses, Mr. Speaker. Altogether, the VAT reforms is expecting to give back nearly 6 billion Ghana cedis to businesses and households. We'll give it to you. Give it to you. 6 billion cedis, Mr. Speaker.
Black market with different rate. Bank of Ghana with different rate. Forest Bureau with different rate. Intimamon trauma will be very big now down. Let us begin to have a new paradigm shift. A shift that will build a very resilient economic framework. We can attain that stability that will give us economic independence.
All right, so those that was the finance minister, and then Dr. Stephen Amoah there. Let me bring in my friend Hamza Suyunis. Hamza, of course, yeah, you would love this budget because you say this is what it takes for you to, deepen the sort of recovery that we're having.
I think that it is without attempting to respond to the concerns being raised about in relation to the growth. It is important for me to point out that if you listened carefully to the minister responsible for finance yesterday, he didn't mince words when he indicated that the growth was largely attributable to the agriculture sector and that of the services sector. So clearly, there is already a path that we are on as a government. And we indicated our commitment to the agriculture sector from day one when His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama gave his first State of the Nation address and called on Ghanaian youth, especially, to begin to look at the agricultural sector. That was the bedrock of the policy direction of this government in terms of our commitment to the agricultural sector. So the presentation yesterday gave credence to commitment on the part of government. Because if you look at many of the contributory factors, especially to the growth in the agricultural sector, it dovetails into the investments that were specifically made in the aquaculture sector, where for the first time now we have what we call the Fisheries Commission and an act regulating that particular sector, where they are mandated to deal with issues of illegal fishing within that enclave.
Sorry, I don't want to cut it, but the Fisheries Commission has always been there. It's not a
There's now a legal impetus that establishes that commission, and that's the point I'm making. And there's an act that was passed, I think, in 2020, just this year, 2025, Act 1146, if my memory serves me right. And also, quite apart from that, an amount of 100 million Ghana cedis was dedicated for fisheries development in the 2025 budget, intended to shore up that sector. So I was not surprised when the finance minister made statements to the effect that indeed that sector alone contributed about 7.7% to the agricultural growth that we recorded. Another important sector has to do with the cocoa industry. Indeed, remember once again, Kojo, that when we came into office, we indicated the challenges that we inherited in the agricultural sector, especially cocoa board. There seemed to be some progress in that sector, and it has also contributed meaningfully to this agricultural growth. I think somewhere last year, in 2024 specifically, there was a downturn of about 21.4%. Today, we have recorded a growth in the cocoa industry of about 1.4 or 8. We can still do better, but you need to appreciate where we are coming from. And that is the time that you will begin to appreciate these investments that we are making and the kind of benefits we are beginning to get from the sector. Kojo, like the finance minister indicated, we inherited an economy that was in a state of comatose. Indeed, we inherited an economy that was completely shut out of the capital markets. What that means is that we are unable to even borrow, even if we wanted to borrow as a government. Quite apart from that, many of our the international credit rating agencies had declared our economy to be in a junk status. The government itself had rolled out the domestic debt exchange program with its attendant challenges. Inflation was quite high, in the region of about 22.39%, approximately 23%. Cost of borrowing, interest rates, somewhere 29.7%. Today, exchange rate was clearly unstable when we came into office. And so the first task of the John Dramani Mahama administration, like we've always indicated, was to ensure fiscal prudence so that we could get a handle on our macroeconomic stability. And many of the policies we've implemented, including austerity on the part of government spending, and also trying as much as possible not to engage in the reckless expenditure that characterized the last 8 years. So that made it easier for us to be able to get a handle on our macroeconomic indicators. But one important thing needs to be stated, that even in the midst of such interventions intended to ensure fiscal prudence, government also realized the implications that would have had on the ordinary Ghanaian. And we rolled out policies intended to lessen the burden. The removal of the e-levy under the 2025 budget, for example, then also management of the exchange rate that led to reduction in fuel prices. And you know the implication of fuel prices as far as the economy is concerned. And so many of these interventions, including an increment in the allocations to the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty, more injections into school feeding program, free sanitary pad, and the likes. In the midst of the economic challenges that we encountered, we realized that even in getting out of the woods, we still needed to take care of the Ghanaian people. And we did just that. So for me, listening to him yesterday make the declaration that we are completely out of the woods. I did not doubt anything he said, because the figures, like the MPP used to tell us, they used to argue that they believe in data, but interestingly, these days they are running away from the data.
So you think we've recovered entirely?
Absolutely, absolutely. Not entirely, but in terms of macroeconomic indicators, I think that we are on a very sound footing. And that is why the minister indicated that we are at a stage of consolidating that gains. And he just didn't end there. The question then becomes, how do you consolidate those gains? And that is why he gave us what I call a three-pronged approach to consolidating the gains. First, what's the name? Modernizing agricultural production and job creation. And you see, insightfully, he just did not challenge us that this is the direction of government. He also gave commitments to the agricultural modernization and industry growth. And that is why he made references to the establishment of the farm service centers and the procurement of in excess of about 4,400 equipment intended to make these centers operational. What this will do is that it will throw out many job opportunities for many of our team and unemployed youth in the country. Quite apart from that, he announced the establishment of 3 garment industries intended to feed into the industrial drive of the country. Because you see, you can invest in all that you want in the agriculture sector. If you also fail to create market for local goods, it becomes a challenge. These days, we are having discussions around the glut situation that we all have. We are dealing with. Now, apart from boosting agricultural production with these interventions, the minister also announced a presidential directive that many of our state institutions, senior high schools, basic schools, now would have to buy goods. From our local farmers. That is something we need to encourage. So we are creating the platform. While boosting agricultural production, we are also creating the platform for consumption of our locally produced agricultural products, and that is commendable. Okay. About 7 agro-processing factories, yes, but this is important. About 7 agro-processing factories are also intended to be rolled out in 2026. That also feeds into the narrative of industry and the commitment on the part of this government to more or less develop our industrial capacity as a country. It has the potential of throwing out jobs. And of course, the oil palm plantation. In estimates, I think that we are looking at approximately about 250,000 jobs to be thrown out from that sector because of the commitment of this government in that regard. And so these are all measurable. And Ghanaians can be pardoned or would be pardoned to measure the successes of what was presented yesterday after 2026. But knowing the president we have and the finance minister who is leading the charge, I'm pretty much confident that the story this time round will be different. Ghana will truly begin to take advantage of our agriculture sector and let it power our economic growth and consolidate the gains that we have made. And on a lighter note, you see, we may also be focusing on the quantitative significance of the presentations yesterday, but there's the need for us to also focus on the qualitative relevance of the finance minister and that of the president of the Republic of Ghana. Okay. Ojo, right. in the past, no, let me end on this note. In the past, we are not dealing with noise and hype. We have not organized lectures. Dr. Atuforsen in opposition did not move from one university to the other, assuring the good people of this country of being the only economic messiah when it comes to the management of the economy. It is being driven by action. And that humility alone, in terms of how he's leading, speaks volumes of his ability to get the needed support from the public sector, the Ghanaian people, and also even the intelligentsia community like my brother, Professor Boydu. Because that humility does the magic on the ground. The ability to connect and the communication out there that I am not the alpha and omega. I am doing this with you people, including market women. Because for all you know, many of you down there have a better understanding of how to turn this economy around than many of those who are privileged with the opportunity to sit at the helm of economic development. Right. And that should not be lost on anybody. I'm grateful. The humility
to drive government policy. Very, very important.
Thank you. Let me bring in Amos now. I mean, from where you sit, beyond the rhetorics, where does your hope lie in terms of the implementation and whether or not we can derive whatever we are being promised?
Thank you very much, Kojo. So, as you rightly indicated before the budget reading, we spoke and we talked about the pre-budget survey that KPMG conducted. So in the pre-budget survey, our respondents clearly indicated that they had confidence in the economy because of the macroeconomic stability that we are seeing. But what they really were also looking to see is that we have real economic transformation just beyond the stability that we have seen, the fiscal discipline that we have seen. And then just before the reading was done, we also put a poll out there to say, what would you really like the government to prioritize? So is it fiscal discipline, ensuring that there is enough resource allocation to the key policy initiatives that the minister, it's mentioning? Is it driving private sector growth or creating the enabling environment for the private sector? What about revenue measures and making sure that we are boosting the revenue generation? So this is how they ranked these areas. That number one, they say, yes, we want the fiscal discipline to continue.
Okay.
And the minister yesterday indicated that, of course, this is going to continue. Number two, they said, make sufficient allocation to the key policy initiatives that are being announced. So again, there were a number of allocations that the minister, indicated. As Prof. Bodi mentioned, we will now need to look at the numbers and really see whether these are sufficient allocations being made. Private sector development was the third area that they indicated we should, the government should be looking at. And of course, the minister mentioned the 24-hour economy and what they were doing about it, the big push and the infrastructure that is being funded, which obviously is going to also create an enabling environment for the private sector. The tax measures that have also been introduced, announced, for instance, decoupling the levies from the VAT. At the moment, what happens is that when you buy a product, there is the levy, there is the NHIA levy, there is the Get Fund levy, which is then that 6% is added onto the percentage that you are paying on the service, and the total VAT is calculated on that amount, all right? But private sector, the businesses are not able to then deduct. The levies are not tax deductible, right? So they end up passing this cost also onto consumers. But minister is saying is being decoupled. The fourth area they then put was the boosting revenue measures. Again, the question is, we are asking government to spend and create the infrastructure, but people are also seem not to be wanting government to raise more revenue, which is an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting thing. So from where we sit, based on the pre-budget survey we did and the poll that we also did, I think the policy direction, it's in the right direction. The policy is in the right direction from where we sit. But you made an interesting point about execution. I think execution is also critical, because one of the things that our respondents told us in the pre-budget survey, it's actually budget execution has been a challenge. And we saw that in the 2025 budget, that execution was low. So now these are things that the minister, the government wants to do. But how do we really execute and get these things done?
Let me bring in Dr. Theo Achampon, because Doc has made a post on his Facebook, and he says, this is a credible budget that consolidates Ghana's macro turnaround, anchors potentially delivers some transformation and job creation, and broadly protect and incrementally scales key social programs. Then he says the current macro reset better than what many, including myself, would have predicted 2 years ago. Nevertheless, it is still a path which is highly dependent on continued fiscal discipline, pushing through major energy sector and other SOE reforms, and having limited major external shocks, example gold and cocoa prices. Doc, from what you said, how do we ensure that even if a shock or any shock would erupt, the economy which we all see it to be rebounding will not suffer what we've seen in the past?
Thank you very much. And again, good morning to everyone. I think I'll come to that question in a moment, but just to echo some of the sentiments that have been expressed by the panelists in the room in terms of, the budget being one of the key anchors to communicate, right, government fiscal policy, and the fact that it needs to send a credible signal to various categories of stakeholders. So the business community, it needs to send a credible signal to investors, it needs to send a credible signal to households, everyday people, you and I, like my grandmother in the village. And when you actually look at the projections that have come through and the things that are being proposed to be done, I think that it does answer most of those questions on that front. And also ties into the point that some of the panelists have made in terms of the confidence that Ghanaians in total and these other stakeholders have within the economy as a result of the macro stabilization that we have seen over the last 1.5 or so years, but particularly in the last 10 months, when you look at some of the headline macro indicators like the exchange rate and interest rates, as well as the reserves position and all the other indicators that are needed to support or make an objective assessment of where the economy is heading. I also do agree that, look, the real issue comes down to the execution, right? So one, the budget is setting a clear policy direction in terms of your priorities. And what the minister did communicate yesterday very clearly is these three, call it strategic priorities. One, consolidating the macro stabilization. Number two, accelerating transformation and job creation. And then number three, strengthening kind of social security. And this is kind of where it becomes really, really critical in terms of how that then becomes executed in the next 9 months. If you look at what has been done in the last 10 months, it gives a certain confidence to everyone and to these stakeholders that there is an expectation of more that can be done in terms of these three areas that I had indicated. But of course, it also comes off the back of some of the challenges that I just put out in my post. So if you were to ask me 2 years ago, would I have expected the CD to have actually gained about 30-something% to the dollar this year? I would have said no. Would I have expected the process of disinflation to have come down to single digits by the end of this year? I would have said no, because of the environment that we were in at that time. So now we have made this big consolidation effort. The real task and the real thing that the budget now tries to communicate is how we then translate this into the substantial reforms that are needed to allow us, expand the base, especially the agri side, and then the manufacturing side, and then of course also a bit of services, but importantly allow us to then diversify such that when you have left the IMF program, so our IMF program comes to an end next year, subject to whatever negotiations we have with them. But once you have left that, you have credible anchors in place. You have a credible growth strategy that you are executing to allow you to build the buffers to the extent that even if you have any major external economic shock, and the world we live in now is actually one of consistent shocks. Some of the research that I have seen, every 3 to sort of 5 years, you should expect something. So this is like the new normal. But it comes down to how you position your domestic economy, the hard reforms that are needed within your energy sector, the discipline that is needed in terms of budget execution and making sure that you stay within the bounds that have been put right together. And I think that is the bit that this budget tries to communicate clearly to these different categories of stakeholders. And if you look at execution on the first quarter to the third quarter of 2025 trends, especially on the expenditure side, it does send a positive signal. So for example, we know that compensation of employees is actually up on this year alone by about 1%. The goods and services budget has actually come down by about 25%. And then likely when you also look at the capital expenditure, that has come down. That is why some people say, oh, we are not seeing, things happening. But actually, when you unpack those numbers and you look at where the monies were going to, there are a lot of inefficiencies, right, within these two budget expenditure lines. And some rationalization is taking place, right, as well. On the positive side, on the expenditure side, because of the savings that we've had as a result of the debt restructuring, interest payments is actually down by almost about 19 percentage points based on the Q1 to Q3 trends, right? So in one sense, we are making gains in certain areas. In others, we actually have scaled back a little bit, some more. The real thing now going forward comes down to the point, I think it was the KPMG person made in the room, right? How you execute this. So you've had the consolidation, you've had the turnaround, the CD relatively stable, inflation importantly is within the band or the target that the central bank has set, which is between 6 to 10%. How do we collectively leverage that to drive the transformation that we all want to see? And transformation doesn't happen overnight, but you need to take certain practical steps. And I think very clearly in my mind that what this budget has sought to do is to push or nudge us in that right sense of direction. And then fundamentally comes down to what we do in terms of the execution in the years and in the months ahead.
Now, next year, we understand that we will start paying some of these debts that we restructured. Again, government wants to spend on big push and ensure that the economy is really on the path that they all desire. In the trend, in all of that, how do we ensure that we don't derail from the path we are on?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of work that is being done within the various government ministries. So one of the big ones you could talk about is the issue of commitment controls or commitment authorization. So within the PFM system, the public financial management system that Ghana runs, it has been systematically flagged. So if you look at various PEFA reports from 2018 and onwards, that we had issues with commitment control. And some of the safeguards that have been put in place now going forward really comes down to you cannot spend over a certain amount without having a certificate or a document that allows you to do that. There's also going to be all these regular or periodic review of the expenditure side of the equation. So for example, every quarter, all the different MMDAs, all the different government agencies are going to have to more or less, justify what they are spending on, and importantly, justify it along the lines of value for money. Number three, There is the Fiscal Council that is also being passed in law within the amended PFM Act, but is yet to be constituted. The Fiscal Council is going to be more or less Ghana's equivalent of the Office for Budget Responsibility, or in the US, the Congressional Budget Office, to add an additional layer of checks and balances on government spending. There is also the Office for Value for Money, and the minister, I think, did indicate within the budget that the bill will be tabled before the House, and I'm particularly looking forward, right, to that. So what I'm basically trying to say is that there are these internal, call it safeguards, that the government is trying to kind of put in place. And then beyond the internal safeguards, especially when the IMF leaves town, because remember that based on our history, most times when we're under an IMF program, we tend to do relatively well. And then when we leave the program, things start to go awry. So based on that history, you need some additional external checks and balances. And this is where I think that the Fiscal Council and the Independent Fiscal Council and then the Office for Value for Money and other things that are being done outside of, call it, the mainstream government becomes extremely important in ensuring that you are not going to spend beyond your means. So, of course, the real proof of the pudding is going to come when we leave, for example, the IMF program. But I'm relatively confident that some of the safeguards that are being put in place now would help to put some brakes on the pressures that we see when it comes to government spending, and especially in the lead up to election years.
All right, I'm grateful to you, Theo Champon. Stay with us. Let me come in studio and bring in Professor Bode. So, Prof, I mean, businesses were looking forward to the tax reforms. With what the finance minister announced in the budget, I mean, in real sense, how will businesses now start to see the benefit of the new tax reforms that have been brought, if you are getting us for the ordinary Ghanaian to really understand what's in it for them?
Yeah, Bless, I think...
Because if you listen to them, it says they are going to eliminate the decoupling of Get Fund and NHIL levies from the VAT tax base to make them eligible for input tax deduction, remove VAT on reconnaissance and prospecting of minerals, and reduce the effective VAT rate from 21.9 to 20%. So if I'm an ordinary business owner, how will this benefit me?
Good question. You know, the 2025 budget focused on consolidation and recovery. But with 2026, it's looking at more of expansion. But I'll come to the revenue betting. I mean, what problems we have with revenue generation. It is always good when a government wants to say, I want to take tax off your shoulders. Businesses will be happy. Ordinary persons will be happy. And this was a key thing in the manifesto of the NDC, the 21 days, that they were going to scrap the levies, the taxes. Indeed, they did removed. And they were left with, I think, this. And this was all over. Government take away the COVID tax from our shoulders for us to move on. Finally, it's been removed and a bill will be passed. I'm sure we have about 10 or so bills the minister mentioned that some amendments will be sent to the parliament. And there's one, the COVID levy.
Yesterday they laid it.
Yes, yesterday they laid it.
Yeah, they laid some of the bills. This was included.
Yes. So what it means, it gives a good signal to the ordinary Ghanaian. It gives a good signal to the business community. And colleagues were here the last time talking about the reasons why the government must take off the COVID levy. So if you're a business person and you hear this story, you know that at least you would think government, you've gotten some money into your pocket, into your business, because you are not going to pay that money to the government again. So in terms of your production, you are likely to have a reduction in what you do, the businesses that you do. So obviously, there's an impact. And that would form part of your profit and loss, I mean, your income, I mean, comprehensive income statement. So obviously, there will be an impact in terms of business growth. It's a welcome news. And in any day, everybody, a business person, would love to hear this story. And I said that on the other platforms, that it appears the administration once in a while or tries to take care of the promises made. And I mean, going after them one by one. But let's flip the discussions and change the emphasis. Whenever you take off a revenue item from what you want, it will have an implication. So I was looking at ways of this administration getting revenue, I mean, funds to support what is going to take away. Because if you scrap COVID, I mean, it's almost about 3.something billion, 3.5 or so.
Yes.
That will be taken off in terms of revenue. How is the government going to get money to shoulder or take care of our expenditure? Go back to 2025, I mean, actuals. You know, tax revenue and grants had stood about 8.3% of the GDP. So actually, in actual sense, government is struggling in terms of revenue mobilization. Look at the figures we have this morning. We have been told. Check the numbers. And you realize that this is the highest revenue projections that we have seen over so many years. 260 something.
But Prof, in terms of plugging the loophole created by the COVID-19, isn't that why he says the deficit, there will be deficit and then you would have to find means of servicing the deficit? If you take away COVID-19, as they have, there will be a gap created. Yeah. But that is why there is a budget deficit, right? That you have to look for other sources to come to deal with it. Not so. And he's shown how they are going to finance that.
Well, if you look at, I'm trying to find out the practical approach of blocking the loopholes. You see, you can have major programs, reforms, but in terms of the structural reforms to contain this, may become problematic. If you want to get revenue scrapped, I don't have a problem because business always will look for other means of the government, not in terms of looking at your revenue stream. You always plan with your revenue and as well as your expenditure. But the figures we have seen, my good friend, it helps anytime you are doing analysis. The point is that you should look at your revenue, you look at your expenditure. But what we are seeing today, yes, we have seen major signs of recovery, major signs of improvement in the economy. But the sustainability is what we are talking about. Businesses are always looking for ways to make things happen in their businesses. But what are we seeing today? Major expansion projects. But check the figures that we have here. Total revenue, last year, 226 billion. Today, we are looking at 1 billion. Almost about 18% increment of your revenue. But we are told these revenue generations are going to predominantly be generated through digitalization and AI reforms. And you said it in the budget.
At the port, and yes.
At the port. Already we are struggling. I don't know why this AI thing has appeared here again. I don't know. If you look at such revenue generation, and it's through this means, I'm worried. Because you rightly indicated this year, debt overhang. We are going to have service all these debts in 2026. You drop your revenue. We are cool, we are fine. But the ways of generating same revenue to show up is where my challenge is on this budget.
Okay.
That's my challenge.
Let me bring in Hamza then, for Hamza to answer. Hamza, his concern is how you can deal with the loopholes. It's structural reforms to deal with deficits?
I can address that question as well.
Okay. So I'll come to you after Hamza. Hamza, yes.
I think you allow it is better.
Okay, let me listen to you. Prof, let me come to you for you to help us with the answer.
No. So, I mean, yes, Prof is right that, yes, the revenue projection seems big. You're moving from 227 roughly, right, in this year to 268 million. But actually, if you go back and you do the historical analysis in terms of the revenue projections and the trends over the last 5-6 years, on a year-on-year basis, the increment that you're seeing here is not that different from what we had in other, prior years. That's the first thing. The second point, which is the important one, is when you actually work out the revenue projection as a share of GDP, which is really the most critical thing here, even in the IMF program and the other fiscal anchors that we have, it comes down to what share of your revenue as a proportion of the GDP that you're using to work your numbers. And actually, when you do those and you look at the projections, it's no more than what we have, right, currently in 2025, right? So the economic base is going to grow, and the denominator, what you use to divide the nominal figure, is still relatively within the bounds that, one is good. So that's the other thing. The other point to also note is that even when you have your revenue, for argument's sake, struggling, what we have seen in the past, not just in the current government, you can go back 2021, 22, during COVID and all of that, you have a commensurate adjustment on the expenditure side of the equation to balance things out, right? And this is important because you're not going to the capital market, especially the external ones, to borrow, right, anymore. So it really comes down to proactive economic policy management, to the point that if at any point in time you're struggling with revenues, for argument's sake, because of internal issues, it could be external shocks, COVID, like we saw, and all of that, you do have to make a commensurate, right, adjustment on the expenditure side. Hence why when you see the overall fiscal balance, and that was a question I think you're trying to pose to Prof, the balance is still contained within the 2.2% deficit figure that has been communicated within this budget. And so really sort of what many market watchers would be watching comes down to, okay, one, the revenue share in nominal terms, but importantly also as a share of GDP. The same thing on the expenditure side, what you're going to spend your money on, which areas you're spending your money on, how does this change or has it changed on a year-on-year basis compared to, say, the last 5 years? And then number three, importantly, how you are going to finance the gap between your revenue and your expenditure, right? Which is the deficit. And the deficit would include what you're spending on your interest, right, servicing costs. And this is, again, very important because it ties into the other dimension of the problem, or call it the primary balance or surplus, depending on how you look at it. And since we passed the amended PFM Act with these two new fiscal rules, the first fiscal rule says that you have to run a primary surplus of 1.5% consistently every year, right? The primary surplus is your revenue and your expenditure, but you are not including your interest, debt servicing costs within that. If you look at the numbers from just the last few months, right, and you can even go back to last year as well, we've been running a positive primary surplus. But particularly in the last 10 months to the end of this year, we're going to hit that 1.5% right target. So all the point I'm just trying to make is that, yes, the revenue projections seem big. However, when you take them into account in a more sort of holistic manner, and with the corresponding adjustment that government may have to do should the revenues not live up to expectations, which I don't think would be, but just for argument's sake. And the fact that you have to also communicate this, ultimately will show in your deficit and your primary surplus or deficit numbers. Then I think that it comes down to the fact that do we see and have we seen signs to make us worry that, oh, the revenue numbers don't make kind of sense. Okay. I don't think that is the case. And like I've said, in the past, when even revenues have not performed as much, we've always had a corresponding adjustment on the expenditure side of the equation to balance the numbers out. So I just thought, you know, I chipped this one in just to put things in the right context.
Okay. Hamza.
Yes, briefly, Kojo, I think that it is important to even link your initial question to Prof on the implications of the COVID levy on businesses and to what my brother earlier on said about the execution of the budget. And I responded by saying that sometimes it has to do with the integrity commitment on the part of government. And if you are familiar with the details of the 2025 budget, you would realize that many of these policy interventions were signaled in that budget, where the finance minister indicated his readiness to have a review of the VAT broad-based system and ensure that it is in line with many of the estimates that were making the rounds in terms of the African continent in particular. Because I think Ghana was among the highest when it comes to our VAT rate. And that was the reason why he made a commitment in that budget to review it. Quite apart from that, COVID levy also featured in prominently. And we have shown commitment in executing those pledges that we made in relation to the 2025 budget. It should be basis for many to be hopeful that many of the commitments we are making in the 2026 budget, especially when it comes to fiscal prudence, are commitments that we will see through. And Kojo, as for the economic implications on businesses, like he indicated, we are estimating approximately 3.7 billion Ghana cedis that otherwise would have come to government will stay in the coffers of the private businesses as a result of just COVID levy alone, the removal of COVID levy. What this means is that businesses would have the opportunity to either expand in terms of the services they deliver or invest in other new opportunities that they can take advantage of. And that is what you do, making financing available to the private sector. And if you look at the overall implications of even the review of VAT, the estimates are that hopefully in the next 1 year, government should be able to free up in excess of about 6.3 billion that otherwise would have come to government as a result of COVID and VAT reforms of 20. Now this is what will be available to the business community for them to explore in terms of investment opportunities.
So money that they should have given to government to stay with them.
That is a commitment to supporting the private sector. And I can understand the concerns being expressed by my brother, especially when it comes to references to the fact that, okay, and mind you, there are capital injections too to the banking sector, NIB, Agricultural Development Bank, and of course CBG. What this means is that even businesses would be able to access capital from many of these recapitalized banks, especially in a system where interest rates are low. So this budget is not just grounded in the usual promises that we churn out as a political class. It also signals, based on action, that indeed this year or the next year is going to be different. And that commitment is key. And Doc, I can understand your concerns, especially when it comes to what you would term as leakages, what's the name? Revenue shortages on the part of government as a result of these interventions. But mind you, even when we're taking out e-levy, we had those concerns. And we provided a befitting response to you. Again, the Honorable Dr. Kesela Tuforsen indicated to you that those monies, though we were taking out e-levy, we had found another interesting way of replacing same through the tax refund account, if you remember, that the previous administration was abusing. And like he indicated, so far, we've not had any major challenges as far as 2025 is concerned in terms of our recovery journey. Indeed, many of us are proud of that recovery journey. So let us be confident. The AI you seek to undermine, even the world is transitioning towards that era, especially when it comes to revenue mobilization. And he made us know that in the ports alone, Ghana lost approximately 31 billion because of leakages. There is the need for us to plug these loopholes and ensure that we take advantage of that sector to at least complement many of these interventions that he has thrown out that you deem as ways of losing revenue on the part of government. So we are not behaving like the previous regime, where we just take advantage of the political atmosphere, throw out jargons, make promises, when in reality, we are not committed to see. When this government proposes that it will do this, and there are financial implications on that, it also proposes ways of making up for such shortages. And that is what needs to be commended. And like I indicated earlier on, Prof, many of you are fortunate to be part of a system now where your views, exciting or not to the government, would be entertained. Because we are not a group of people who pride ourselves as having all the solutions to the economic challenges of this country. We know the role the private sector plays. We know the role the likes of you would have to play as far as our economic recovery journey and consolidation is concerned. And that is why this is not just an NDC budget. This is a budget signaling the commitment of the NDC's administration to collectively work with all sectors to ensure that at least, if for nothing at all, we begin to action the cause that there is the need for Ghana to change the structure of our economy. So it does not become lip service. We give action to it, and that is what this is signaling. And mind you, Kojo, the injections in the road sector alone, Prof, in excess of about 30 billion. This government appreciates that no matter the investments we make, especially in the agriculture sector, if our roads are not linked to commercial centers, many of these investments will go to waste. It is the reason why His Excellency President Mahama has decided once again to be interested in the big push agenda, and it has already commenced. Doc also made references to the 3 or 4-pronged approach that underscores this budget and talked about the issue of what I call strengthening governance, and I think the finance minister made references to that, and that of skills training. Again, because of your concern about execution. In the 2025 budget, that signal was given in terms of skills training, that there's a need for us to prioritize it. The Ministry of Finance for 2025 released in excess of about 300 million Ghana cedis to the National Apprenticeship Program. About 10,000 or so youth have already been engaged and they are undergoing training in various skills. Hopefully in the next 3 or 4 or 5 months, many of them will graduate. They will be supported with initial capital and startup tools to be able to run their own businesses. And this is how you create sustainable jobs. We do not want to behave like the MPP by simply pointing to the number of people that we employ in the public services. And in most cases, also inflating the figures. If you remember, but Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was mentioning 2.6 million.
The MPP also cited private sector.
I'm coming. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was mentioning 2.6 million. Their employment minister was mentioning 3 million, in some cases 5.6 million. And it had to do with public sector employments. Every government, in one way or the other, we find our way of recruiting people into the public sector. But because of the political nature of these recruitments, many of these public institutions are beginning to suffer, because they are being given more hands than they actually require. There's the need for us to begin to think outside the box. And so we should be measured by the number of private jobs we are able to help throw out. And that is the essence of the 24-hour economy and the overriding objective of the investments that this government is leading in the agriculture sector.
Okay, all right. Let me bring you in, Amos. Yeah, you want to make a point?
To add to the revenue measures, I think some of the tax reforms that we are seeing, so the simplification of the VAT, for instance, should encourage more compliance.
Okay.
And if more people are complying, then you expect that
more revenue will go up.
And the government has also indicated that they will be giving incentives for people to actually, for people to report their VAT that they are, paying. Which should lead to more compliance. Then there's also the AI that has been mentioned, that AI is going to be used at the ports to really make sure that the human interaction is reduced and for more revenue to be generated. There is also the cooperation with other countries, international bodies, to make sure that multinationals are also paying taxes, especially in terms of businesses that are transacted electronically. So these are things that should also help to improve the revenue. So we see that in terms of the revenue projections or estimates, it's going up by 18%.
Okay.
Right? Whereas expenditure is going up by 20%. So there's still...
There's 18 and 20, so 18, it's on 2%.
Exactly. So there's still that gap.
So it means the deficit becomes the 2%?
So
the deficit will be higher than...
That's the increment.
Pardon?
I mean, that's the increment.
Yeah, so that's the increment.
Okay.
That's the increment. But in terms of the primary...
surplus.
Yes, I think the minister mentioned 1.5, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But again, it comes back to execution, because we have 1 year to implement the budget.
Okay.
The budget is a short-term, policy driving us to our long-term goal. So we have 1 year to implement. So these measures that we have here, how quickly are we going to execute on them and make sure that they translate into the revenue that we are looking for?
In your survey, did business talk about government intervention or resort to borrowing from domestic market and how that impacts them? Did they raise that issue?
So they did not raise that issue directly, but what they mentioned is that they want access to cheaper, funding, finance. And obviously, one way to do that, letting the private sector have more access, is the government borrowing less from the banks, right? Because banks see government as risk-free and rather give their money to the government than to the private sector. So if government is borrowing less, then there is access. But then that necessarily doesn't also solve the problem, because banks are giving to government because they see the private sector as risky. So even if the government is not in the game, would they still continue to see the private sector as risky, or they will continue to give? But a measure that we have seen in the reading is the Women's Development Bank, right? So the government says, I am putting 400, is it
400 million?
400 million out there, to really capitalize the Women's Development Bank. And it's the minimum capital requirement to set up a bank.
And they are given 1 million for the office setup.
Exactly.
So according to the minister, you don't touch the 400 we are giving you.
Okay. So it means there will be a category of businesses that will be having access to cheaper funding. Exactly the modalities for the bank, it's yet to come out. So again, execution.
Okay. Let me bounce this at you, Dr. Fia Champon. How must it be done such that government in its aim to deal with budget deficit and not returning to the international capital market will not also crowd out the private sector as it wants to help that sector to grow?
Yeah, I think on the how to be done on the borrowing front, it comes down to communicating this clearly to market participants. So, every month, every 3 months, the government issues what they call there's an issuance calendar for borrowings in terms of the treasury bills, the 1 year note, and then all those, other things. The how bit, I think, comes down to the consistency and the fidelity with which government follows that calendar. Because what then tends to happen, well, let me take a step back. If you look at the treasury bill rates and then the yield curve and all of that, in the last kind of 1.5 years, you've seen that consistently coming down, and a big jump, downward trend in the last 10 months. Which then signals that the cost of government borrowing is getting cheaper, and you see that in the numbers. The bit that has to be clearly communicated going forward in 2026 is the consistency with which then we follow that borrowing calendar and the extent then to which this balances out on the fiscal side of the equation, right? Okay. The deficit and then the surplus numbers that we're talking, about here. And that is really the bit that in my former experience working within the market space in the City of London and other places, people would be really looking out for to see, okay, are we seeing signs of what people call fiscal stress, which we indicated to by the extent to which government goes to these domestic capital market to borrow, because we still can't access the external, capital market. Yeah. And that for me would be sort of the telltale sign. But importantly, what you're seeing is that, and I think I made this point, over the last 3-4 years, whenever we are having revenues not doing as well as we expect, we've always had a compensating adjustment on the expenditure side of the equation. So it comes down to execution, bottom line. And then it comes down to the consistency with which we're able to follow through the things that we say we're going to be doing. And I think the government has sent a clear signal based on the 2025 budget fiscals that it intends to follow that, right, going forward. And we need to all, ensure or hold the government up to its feet in terms of delivering, right, on that. But I am relatively confident that the issue of the crowding out, which has always been a problem of the private sector vis-a-vis government borrowing, is something that we can sort of put to the back burner now, and then getting real credit to go to the private sector, the real credit to go to the real sector of the economy, and getting the borrowing rates, right, coming down. And just a quick point on that, to finalize it, comes down to also what the central bank does, right, in terms of the policy rate. Because we've seen the process of the disinflation ongoing, and we're likely to end the year with, or stay the year within the single-digit band, I would expect that when the central bank meets during its next, the policy rate, MPC meets during its next meeting, the policy rate will be further adjusted, downwards, ultimately to come down maybe around the 15 percentage point band. That would then allow real credit to flow into the economy, and you can then pick that up in other indicators like broad money supply and other things to kind of measure the extent to which people are getting access to credit, and businesses are also doing the same.
Dr. Theo Ashampon, I'm grateful to you. He is a technical advisor at the Ministry of Finance. That's where time will allow us. I'm grateful to you, gentlemen, for coming. Prof, my time has run out. I need to move on now. Professor Zigbodi is Dean, Accounting and Finance, UPSA.
And of course, congratulations to the new Chief Justice. No. But you see, it is important.
I said that my time is up.
You see, it is only proper for us. That is an important arm of government.
Which one?
Your appointment of a new Chief Justice.
No, you've said it. You've mentioned it.
It's an important arm of government, and there's the need for us to congratulate him and urge him to at least pursue research even within the judiciary, so that Ghanaians can No, it's important. Are you telling me that there's everything right about
everything is right with the judiciary? Right?
You think so? Why? Ghanaians will disagree with you, especially those who use our courts on daily basis. And sometimes
you didn't give us a...
Prof, you know how I'm
But another challenge I have with this budget, would the infrastructure promises be met? That's my challenge.
We'll keep an eye on it.
In fact, that's the point.
Absolutely.
57 billion for infrastructure.
Yeah.
Last year, 26, spent 10. Would this promise be realized?
Okay, all right. Professor Zigbodi is Dean Accounting and Finance of the UPSA. Hamza Soyeni is a lawyer and a member of the NDC's communications team. And then Mr. Amos Ansa is with the PwC. KPMG, I almost switched your companies there. He is an associate director at KPMG. We'll take a break here. We'll be back with more. But you know what? We're going to talk about strokes why is stroke taking a lot of lives, and how can you prevent yourself from getting stroke? And also talk about the NCDs, which the budget also spoke about. Stay with us. Welcome back to the AM show. Time for me to engage some people who are doing incredible in the line of IT and trying to make sure that our lives are very, very seamless. I've been joined in studio by Amelia Hansen-Okran, Head HR and Admin of Inlax. Also Caesar Akbagbli is Account Manager Software and Sales, and Michael Edusa, Lead Infrastructure Sales. Good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning. Thank you.
That's all as well?
Yes.
Okay, so let me start with you, Amelia. When we say Inlax, what are you? What do you do?
Okay, so Inlax, we are an IT firm, systems integrator, and our simple mission is to profile IT-enabled solutions to maximize our customers' equity.
Okay.
Yeah. We do software, we do hardware, and everything IT.
So, are there specialized sectors that you play in, or you are across?
In fact, everything you want, we can do for you. But currently, we play in the space of the financial sector, oil and gas, and all other manufacturing companies.
What do you do in there?
Okay, so we sell the popular software called Terminus T24. It's a banking software.
Okay.
Yes, we have a lot of the banks using our software, quite efficient. So the banks out there, they can hear me, talk to us. Yeah. And we do a lot of other things. So my colleagues will talk more about.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me come to the guy who's in charge of the infrastructure sales. Why should a bank choose Terminus 24 and not any other software out there?
All right. So even though Caesar will speak more on it, Terminus 24 is one of the leading global banking software. So in terms of every functionality that a bank would need to operate efficiently, right? So that's what Terminus offers, and their coverage is quite global, right? So I will let Caesar deals more.
He's a guy on that. Okay.
So
so if I'm a bank listening to you, why should I choose that one?
Yeah,
I want to know.
so thank you, Brace, for this, and thank you and the listeners for joining us. Inlax, as rightly said by the team, Terminus, we are partners, implementation and sales partners of Terminus. And Terminus is #1 in the global market when it comes to core banking applications. In Ghana, we are over 25 years, but Inlax in total has about 40 years experience in this banking sector. And having had the experience for over 40 years or 4 decades, we have the competencies, we have the back end up and down experiences in the banking sector. We have model banks that are working very well in this country. And the good thing about it is that Terminus, as rightly mentioned by Emilia, doesn't just play in the tier 1 where we talk about and this for free. We actually are in all the Central African,
Sub-Saharan
Africa, okay. And then the central banks of about 8 banks in
countries.
African countries.
Wow, that's huge.
And apart
central
from that,
banks.
Exactly, central banks. And even our central bank.
Okay.
And to that extent, we don't just play. The good thing about it is that Terminus just doesn't play in the central bank level. They've also brought it down to even savings and loans that we call the tier 2s. So they play in those markets, come down to the tier 2s. Also, they have a session or a solution that is called the financial inclusion. That seamlessly fits the
even
tier
insurance.
2 businesses, insurance and all that. So we are much placed. We have the competencies, we have the track record, we have the global branding. Exactly. So Terminus is really...
so maybe because of that resource,
yeah,
which led you to do a project, because I'm told that you're doing a wonderful CSR project.
Yes, sir.
Some jurisdictions, companies that undertake CSR have a special, appeal to customers.
Right.
I don't know how it plays out in Ghana, but what are you doing in the CSR space?
Okay. So for us, we believe in giving back to the very society that we serve. So this isn't the first time. We've done a couple in the past. Accra Psychiatric Hospital, these incubators, Honorable Sifakai has been, soliciting for. But this recent one, we went to the Tete Oklu School for the Deaf and Dumb. We renovated their classrooms and built new, few blocks for them. Yeah.
And built new ones?
Yes, not entirely a block, but a fraction of a block for them, a waiting area and all of that. So renovated the entire place.
Okay, wow, interesting. Why Tete Oklu?
Okay. In fact, we've been passing by that community and we saw a need, so we responded to it. There was a need and we responded. These are people who are challenged in a form of speech. They cannot even do what I'm doing now. They cannot speak like I'm speaking or can't hear me. They communicate with signs. And for them to lack the basic amenities that they need to function properly, like you and I, if you want something this morning, you can tell me, Emilia, I want food, and I will give it to you. But for them, they have to do signs and all of that. So we thought that it was very necessary to help them where we could. So we just went to help.
Okay. And how does that reflect your corporate value? Because I'm sure you did it based on how you want people to see what you stand for, what value you offer.
Yeah. Okay. So there's something we call customer satisfaction. That at the end of the day, our customers should be satisfied. And we should also be satisfied. So if we are getting it, there is a win-win. Why don't you also give back to the society? We call it inclusion. That we care for the society that we dwell in, where we do business. If there is peace around for us to thrive as a business, why don't we also give back? So it's just part of our core values, is inclusion, including everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good you chose them too.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Caesar, so what do you think this has brought to the school community itself?
In fact, to add, I live around that community.
Okay.
And until we did that,
Then it was you who said it, they should go there.
so in fact, there was a breath of fresh air in the community, saying that at least if you have to enter, at least what you are approached with or what meets you is something that actually is a good thing to feel. And so at least from the feeling we've got gathered on the ground, the students are very happy with what we've done. After speaking to the management as well, they are really excited about we having even the thought to come to help them. And as they always say, live at least once more. And so they would always request for something else to be done. And I can say that there are a number of other things to be done in there. And so, yes, it's not done and dusted.
Yeah.
We might be going back there to just help them more for the things they need, yeah.
Michael, how does this fit into your broader CSR strategy?
All right. So, at least during my master's class, right, we were meant to understand that a business is very much part of the community. And a business that does not impact its community is not really living up to its mandate. So what we are doing in the CSR space is in line with us being responsible as a business for our community, because every community member is a key stakeholder in any business, right? So it's something we've been doing over the years, we'll continue to do, and seek more ways and avenues to impact the community even further. As we are serving our customers, enabling them digitally through our digital solutions, channels, ATM services, infrastructure, data center and all that. But then when it comes to our community, right, so it is key and it is important that we impact and we contribute significantly.
So I was happy when Emilia mentioned customer. Sometimes we forget that the communities in which we operate are even our customers. We don't treat them as such. So Emilia, I come back to you. What are the plans to continue supporting the school or other institutions that also require you to touch them with your blessing?
Okay. So this is not the end. This isn't the first as well. Like I mentioned, we've done a couple in the past, and it is part of our strategy to give back to society all the time. So annually we do it. So we wish to even adopt the school, and then we take care of them. with God's help. So customers come to us, we'll give you satisfaction. Michael here sells ATM, the banks, the ATM that you go and you will draw your cash.
Okay.
Michael sells it, he maintains it. We do a data centers, so in case you want a data center being built for you, where you can keep your data safely in the cloud, wherever, we are up to it. Anything you want to be developed, just call us. We are call away. Call us and we'll do it for you. So as you bring more business and we get more, we give back to the society. Like the school very day, they are pretty children, very beautiful kids that, you know, they are handicapped. And we wish to give back to them the more. So customers come to us, the banks, everybody come. We are ready. Okay.
Just to add a bit to that, NLAX as well is also into the digital space. Currently, we've built our own solutions that we call the NLAX Digital Solutions, and those who know us have actually had some room to actually interact with the solutions. The likes of WhatsApp banking, which is backed by AI. So what we have done is that, you know, the world is going digital very fast. And so we built AI modeled conversational platforms that banks and any other industry, insurance, construction, healthcare, anybody can always have that interaction. And, you know, we have this, one I have to mention is a queue management solution, where you go to a typical African or Ghanaian institution, you see the queues lined up, and there should be some form of management to those things. We've built solutions that can also handle those problems, as it were. And so, as Emilia rightly said, we are really happy to have that discussion with all stakeholders so that we can progress it from there. And, you know, from that, we can also do more.
Including multimedia.
Of course, of course.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming. So before we bounce off your last words, I'll give you 30 seconds.
Okay, great. So thank you very much, Brace, again. In fact, as I rightly said, NLAX, we are here for good. We are not just in the market just so that we can sell. We are here to make or build relationship with our customers. And so we want to put ourselves out there. If there are any issues, you need any advice in any sector, even new entrants, bankers, they can always come to us, and we are happy to really be of it.
Target the Women's Bank then, they're going to set up.
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely.
Yes.
Women's Bank, I'm ready for you.
Okay. So when you can come and talk to me, I'm a woman, I understand.
Right. We have all you need.
All right. Okay, so thank you very much for the opportunity. Like my colleague said, come to us. Every problem that you have, anything that is giving you sleepless night in terms of systems, just talk to NLAX. We are ready to shoulder the burden for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Michael, I guess they've said it all, huh?
Yes, so just to add, we are the technology peace of mind people.
Thank you.
No matter the industry you are, if you want peace of mind in your digital platforms, anything IT technology, e-banking services, we are the people to talk to.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Emilia Hansen Okran. Because if I don't bring the Okran, there will be issues.
Yes.
Head HR and admin at NLAX. Caesar Akbagbli is account manager, software and sales. Mike Edusa is lead infrastructure sales. Thank you very much for coming. Let's do the AM show. We'll take a break here. We'll be back. Please don't go away. All right, welcome back to the AM show. Let's talk about the non-communicable diseases and how this is taking a lot of lives and how you can even ensure that you are out of it. I'm been joined in the studio by someone who has dedicated his time to really doing a lot more on helping people to stay away from all of this. Prince Ishmael Daima is a nutritionist, and I see a dietitian. I say nutrition. And I see, what's your company name again?
Health Plus Africa.
Health Plus Africa.
Yeah.
Well, so how troubling is this? We've seen a lot of issues about non-communicable diseases, but you see at first hand all the people who are going through this. How troubling is it from you?
Yeah, so thank you very much. And then good morning to your viewers across Ghana. It's very troubling. I'm sure last week you saw a release by Global Burden of Disease that sought to put Ghana statistics, health-wise, that stroke now is a leading cause of death in Ghana from 2013 to 2023. I think the research was done for about 10 years. And stroke, which is a non-communicable disease, is a leading cause of death in Ghana. You would know that the chief cause of stroke is hypertension.
Okay.
So what we need to do is look at how, as Ghanaians, we can buffer ourselves against hypertension. Statistics currently tells you that about 48% of Ghanaians suffer hypertension.
48%
of Ghanaians suffer hypertension.
And what causes hypertension?
So whether they are aware or not is another thing. So you may even have it without knowing until screening is done on you.
Okay. Okay.
Right? The chief cause of hypertension is anxiety, stress. Then you can also look at the dietary factors, what we eat currently, our shift from the traditional diet or meals to now the fast food industry, the junk foods, laden with bouillon cubes, laden with high salt, we call that sodium and all of that, right? And then we can also look at our, we are changing. We are becoming like the Western world. So we have a lot of officials sitting and not even getting up to exercise. So sedentary lifestyle, it's one of the causes of that, the hypertension, because often than not, you sit in your office because of work, you are not getting up. But it is ideal or recommended that at least you get up, do an exercise for at least 20 minutes. Every office worker has about 1 hour break. That is enshrined legally. So if you have that, take some time and then exercise. Just take some walks, take a lot of water, do away with the fast foods that we are talking about and go to our traditional diet. I mentioned hypertension as the chief cause of stroke, but there are other causes as well. Diabetes, it has twice a cause. The nature of diabetes is that it works and tries to clog the arteries in the veins that carries blood to the brain. Now, a single minute of blockage of any of the vessels carrying blood to the brain can lead to about 1.9 million cells, brain cells dying. 1.9 million brain cells dying a minute.
Just a minute.
Just a minute of it. And cholesterols, high cholesterols. People have high dyslipidemia, but they don't even know.
So what you're calling for is what? Regular checkup, or we will know. If I'm diabetic, will I know?
Yeah, so for now, we are looking at the causes of stroke, basically the NCDs. And then what we can do now is to do constant screening. In Ghana here, we have a bed occupancy rate of at least twice. Go to the hospital twice in a year. Now, when you go, you request for some screenings to be done on you. If you don't do that, you might just be taken by surprise. Cholesterol, how would you know you have cholesterol? You might have the symptom, maybe some part of you is aching you, maybe some headaches or stress. But to be sure that it is hypertension that is destructive or that is worrying you, get to the hospital. We have done that at Health Plus Africa Care. We have done that, and I think recently, which I made some talks about in other sister media stations. We received an award from UK. We had partnership with Ministry of Tourism and Creative Arts. We conducted a sensitization session for them, the senior management staff, works and housing as well, sanitation then. And we sought to scale out. All these things are online, which you can just come across them. Now, what we need to do is involve the stakeholders, our chiefs, our pastors, people who heal. Sometimes they come to them and they're like, I have this, and they will tell you, we can pray to heal you. No, please, some of the things, we all have faith, but some of the things the hospital need to see them. And then, if we are doing that, we have to cut down on our sodium intake, which is one. We have to have enough time to rest. The last time we were speaking, I told you need to have time to rest, right? You need to eat the Ghana Medi diet. There's something we call the Ghana Medi diet. When I say Medi diet, Mediterranean diet, it has to do with a lot of veggies and a lot of fruits. We have a lot of veggies in Ghana and fruit in Ghana, cabbage, carrot, lettuce, spinach, and all of that. The leafies actually go in there and serve as dietary fiber that absorbs all the sugar that is in you, and thereby preventing diabetes.
So we should eat a lot of these leafies.
A lot of leafies.
But now we are even scared of eating them because of what's happening.
Yeah. So the recent researches on the issues of heavy metals and all of that, you see, there are isolated cases of these things, right, in Ashanti, in areas that minings are there. But then you can't say you won't eat them. You only have to draw caution. It's better to have the leafy, prevent diabetes, prevent hypertension, prevent high cholesterol, right, than
not have them at all.
Yeah, not to have them. At least you have what will provide the antioxidant buffer against the diseases. So if we begin to shift and say because of the heavy metals we are not going to be eating fruit and vegetables, then our problems are going to be many.
But I mean, are there things that I could feel in my body that should give me an indication of maybe getting close to suffering a stroke or maybe hypertension, diabetes, or whatever? Are there things I can feel?
Thank you very much. I think here those are called signs and symptoms in a clinical setting. For instance, if you are looking at for hypertension, which is high blood pressure, you can look at for headaches, stress, fatigue, sometimes migraines are there, you are not just yourself in a day, and then you report, Some people are just restless, but then the signs and symptoms vary from individual to an individual. But the key cardinal ones are, one, if it is hypertension, look out for headache, right? Majorly. Look out for, any pain that you see that this is unusual of me. If it is diabetes, you look out for polyuria. There's a lot of urine output, a lot of excessive taste, sleepless nights, sweats unnecessarily or profusely, and all of that. So basically, these are some of the things we can look at, to look out for. But in terms of cholesterol, it is very difficult to tell when one has cholesterol. Some people would experience some pain in some parts of the body. Somebody might not even experience anything at all. The best thing, of course, headache is a precursor to most of the diseases we see, especially the non-communicable diseases, right? But some people may also have stress at work and then have migraine. You may also just even be tired and then there's a migraine you have. Any of those things, please just get to the hospital to be for some labs to be run on you.
Don't just go and buy a painkiller.
No. So the abuse of painkillers is actually what is causing these kidney diseases that we are talking about. One of the leading contributors of kidney disease is an abuse of NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory disease drugs, which we call painkillers. Don't do them. I beg. You've also drawn my attention to the sweet beverages we take. Our country is laden or is indoctrinated with sugar sweetened beverages now. I want to advise, as a clinician, dietitian, and somebody who has very keen interest in population and health, and then its dynamics, we have to reduce the intake of sugary beverages. Why? High sugar causes saturation in the blood. It doesn't mean when you take it, it works for you. It might work for you today, tomorrow it won't do. So when your system is saturated with sugars, at a point in time, your pancreas is supposed to secrete insulin that goes and open your muscles for the sugar to enter. It won't do that again because there's excess of the sugar in the system. So what we are saying is that all of you who take a lot of sugar must limit the intake of sugars. And the energy drinks are all laden with sugars. I see people, trotro drivers and all of that, drinking them early in the morning. When I see you, I caution you, please, this is not good. Some of them understand but they're like, oh, because they need the energy to move on. Now,
so it mustn't be a lot. You have to take them, but not too much.
You don't necessarily have to take those energy drinks to do your work in a day. You already have energy from the food you've eaten. Brace. You don't need to do that. You need a caffeine, excessive caffeine in your system. No, that's not what we are talking about. Now, there's also a portion of it that talks about tobacco and alcohol use. I would have forgotten it.
Okay.
We have to limit tobacco and alcohol use. About 5 to 7% of Ghanaians are still smoking in the rural areas, in the bars, in the drinking spot. Tobacco is a known predicator of NCDs, stroke, and hypertension. Excessive alcohol is a major contributor to 1, obesity, 2, hypertension, 3, diabetes, and then stroke. So if you're an alcohol consumer, I advise that you limit the alcohol intake. Some people will ask, limit to what? For a man, it is advised that in a day you can take 1, maximum 2.
Of what? Is it
of 7? I like that question of what I thought. No. So the quantification is that 350 mils.
Oh, okay.
That's about a beer or so, a beer bottle, if you're a man. Because of the nature of man, your activeness, whatever you do, and how your system, your metabolism. Basically, a lot of men have higher metabolism than women. So it is advised that if you are somebody who constantly consumes alcohol, take 2 bottles in a day. And then for a woman, just 1 bottle in a day. Okay. So that you don't cause your system to malfunction.
When someone gets stroke, there's something called a CT scan.
Yes.
Right? That's what the first thing they do.
Yeah.
How many times should that be done? Or can I go and do CT scan even as I sit here?
So, okay, that leads me to my next topic, which we have to look at how we can identify strokes. Now, we call that FAST. The Ghana Health Service System, or Ghana Health Service, has designed or come up with a system we call the FAST system. FAST means, it's an acronym, right? Is when you want to see somebody have stroke, or quickly, as I'm here with you, if something happens to me and then you want to know whether I have stroke, the first thing is my face drooping? When I say drooping, can you see any physical sign that I can't smile anymore? I can't talk anymore, right? It's a very quick sign. Something is wrong with me, right? So that's the first FAST. The first one, face drooping, face drooping. The second one is the arm weak, perhaps your left hand or your right hand. Suddenly you cannot lift it, or your leg, you cannot lift it. It's just gone, numb, weak. You have to report to the nearest hospital or clinic that is around. Call. The third one, which is S, is slurred speech, difficulty in speaking. If any person has a difficulty in talking, immediately make a call. Perhaps he wasn't like that, but within a time frame, you've seen that something has just changed about the person. He's trying to speak and then there's a difficulty. The quick thing you have to do is call the appropriate authorities or try to, before it hits the brain. That's a sign. So the T stands for time. How quick you send the person to the hospital is how fast the person can be saved.
Okay. Time is of essence.
Yes. Now, the research is telling you and I that without expert intervention, 3 out of 4 stroke patients are likely to die within the first 5 to 8 years. If somebody has stroke, and there's no quick, within that short space of 48 hours, there's no care, medical care, the person is likely to lose his or her life within the next 5 to 8 years. Some people don't even last. I have witnessed people in Kolebu die immediately within 2-3 days, and they pass on.
Okay, so people should be regular.
Yes. So your question of scan, you can go in there and walk. You just walk in there and say you want to do a scan. They will ask you questions. Do you feel anything within your system that needs a scan? We don't need to expose you to such certain rays, all right? Okay. But then if you physically or personally request that this is what I want to do, the doctor can't stop you from doing it. They will do it for you because the patient has a right to self-examination.
Okay, all right. I'm grateful to you for coming through.
Thank you very much.
This talk. I hope that we can do this again some other time.
Sure.
Prince Ishmael Dima, thank you for coming.
Prince Ishmael Dima.
It's Dima, eh?
Yeah, it's actually, his silent name is Dima.
Dima? Okay.
But a lot of you...
Ishmael Dima.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We'll be back with
yes,
more
yes, sure.
All right, welcome back to the AM show. Time for us to talk to some of the people who came for the Joy Business EcoBank SME Fair. And I've been joined in studio by Juliana Agatha Kwam. And Juliana Agatha Kwam is the one there. And then Mitchell Berchi. Yeah? That's it?
Yes.
They are customer relations managers with Hustle Hub. Okay, with for Hustle.
Yes.
All right. That's it. Now, what do you do at Hustle?
Oh, thank you for having us here today. Good morning, Ghana. So what we do as Hustle is we connect service providers with instant jobs.
Okay.
So if you need a carpenter, a plumber, a mason, just log on to the website and book one of our professionals.
Oh, that's why you say we for Hustle.
Yes, we for You need to Hustle. work.
Okay, interesting. What inspired that? What inspired the creation of Hustle?
So
Agatha, take this.
our founder came to Ghana and she needed a makeup artist. Couldn't find one.
Okay.
She was scrolling through Instagram and it's like, oh, where are you? Where are you located? Like, couldn't find one. She was like, you know what if I had an app like this where you could find someone instantly without all the hustle, having to go through Instagram or word of mouth from your friends. Oh, do you know a makeup artist here and there? So she decided to create something that could help Ghanaians, help everyone be able to find service providers instantly.
Okay, so that led to the creation of Hustle.
Yes.
All right. Now, so your technology is what? Is it an app or is it a website? I've had two things
So we have a website and we'll launch an app.
Okay.
December would
Okay.
launch it. But for now, you can just log on to the website, which is www.hustleapp.io.
Hustleapp.io. Okay.
Yeah.
And how does Hustle support women and youth? I see that for brand managers, all of you customer managers are women. Huh?
So, let's be honest. Currently, it's like everything's centered around the men. It's so true.
May I say it's a woman's world?
Oh, it is, but then we don't have enough space to showcase what women and then the youth can do. So Hustle is, it's true. It's true. So Hustle is putting women and the youth forward, making it more available or more easy for us to be able to get jobs instantly. So the regular makeup artist or the regular person with a salon on the side of the road would be able to get enough customers or clients just by sitting at home and getting onto the site.
And I understand your origin isn't really Ghana.
Yes.
So why did you choose Ghana, and what does that expansion represent for you?
So Ghana was chosen as a launch destination because our founder really loves Ghana.
Okay.
And we want to empower the youth. We want to create more jobs. We want to let them understand that they can get financial independence. That's why we looked at Ghana.
And Ghana is like a hub, a center. I mean, currently everyone comes to Ghana in December.
Center of the world. Huh?
Yes, the peace, the harmony.
We have everything.
It's
The
good.
December is all here.
So that's why Ghana was the one that you chose.
It just hit us that this country is like the best.
Okay. And so far, have we proven that we have the best?
Yeah. Yes. The service providers we have on our website right now, they are so skilled and talented. They are very good.
Okay. And how's the growth been?
So we started just 4 months ago, and we have over 200 plus service providers. And in every week, we book about 3 to 4 service providers. So with Hustle, we call the people that work with us hustlers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So once you're a service provider, signed up on Hustle, you are called a hustler.
So it doesn't matter where you are.
No, anywhere in Ghana.
Anywhere in Ghana.
And you have artisans all over the country?
All over.
So currently our main focus is here in Accra, but we did a launch recently in Volta region.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing Kumasi, then Takoradi, Cape Coast. So we're going to keep on expanding. So currently we do have hustlers everywhere, but the focus is mainly here because this is where we're centered currently. But we're planning on opening up offices or center points for our hustlers to go have conversations with managers there as well. Maybe set themselves up on the app. If you're finding an issue, there's going to be an office you can always access and get to know what's happening.
Where do you want to see Hustle in the next 5 years?
Oh, we're going to make it big. It has to go everywhere.
We do not need any competitors.
Yes.
It's just us.
We're thinking the whole West Africa, then probably expand throughout. So from here, Nigeria, then Togo, Ethiopia, because we love Ethiopia as well.
Hustle. We forgo hustle.
Yeah.
For hustle. Okay. All right. Juliana Agatha Kwam, I'm grateful to you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Mitchell Becci.
Becci.
Yes. Mitchell Becci. Yes. Okay, they are customer relations managers of Hustle Hub. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All the best to your company. Yeah.
Thank you.
This is still the AM show. We'll take a break here. But the AM show is sponsored by Kinoga Company Limited and Syntex Tanks. We say in Ghana, let's talk about water tanks. Do you know the secret to real water storage? It's simple. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, then it's not a correct tank. That's right. The tortoise tank, Syntex tank, is the champion of water tanks. It is strong, durable, and built to handle our Ghanaian weather. So whether rain, shine, Syntex tank has your back. You know what? Go outside, check your water tank, and if it doesn't have the tortoise on it, it's time to upgrade. Join the Syntex tank family today and enjoy water storage that's tough like a tortoise. Call 0244-335-168 to buy now or find one of our 400 agents nationwide. You can also shop online at syntexgh.com. Syntex tank, strong, tough. Again, let's see what we can do here. The AM show is still live on Joy News channel for you, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us. But you know what? I wanted to recommend for you the breakfast and where you could have a quick breakfast for you. Downtown is where you need to be so that you can have a breakfast. But it's the thyme herbal mixture is suitable for the treatment of malaria fever, loss of appetite, general body pains. The thyme herbal mixture in capsule is also suitable for the treatment of rashes on the private parts. You need to make sure you keep that place safe from all of that. Difficulty in urinating, immune system support, general well-being, and also both products are suitable for use by individuals of all genders. For bulk purchase, contact all herbal and pharmacy shops or call 0244 41 76 69, 0244 41 76 69, and that's it there for you. Now, for generations, African makers have produced excellence from farms to factories, yet are rich, often stopped at the border. WeShopAfrica.com is changing that narrative by connecting Africa's producers to buyers across the world through one trusted digital marketplace. From agriculture and craft to beauty and fashion, we bring authentic African-made product to your doorstep with secure payment and fast delivery. Empowering local industries, creating jobs, and taking African global. You can visit www.weshopafrica.com or download the We Shop Africa app on the Play Store and the App Store. For more information, call 0302-942-077, 0302-942-077, or email support@weshopafrica.com. WeShopAfrica.com. Shop and experience Africa everywhere. Now, are you looking for a smarter way to connect and grow your business? Voss Limited brings you Voss cards, sleek, smart digital business cards that make networking effortless. Perfect for individuals, teams, and events. Just tap, share, and connect instantly. Visit www.vossafrica.com or call 059-882-3662, 059-882-3667 to get yours today. Voss Limited, the smart way to connect. That's it there. Today is the birthday of my friend DJ Black in Agona and Konta. Black is one of the assembly members we have, who's a very hard-working one. So T Black, wherever you are, to have a fantastic one. Nyamalize yira na ye okezire mo anyi ne na we are frame na mo connect to there. That's it then. That's how I leave the stage and leave the rest for the beautiful Noella Karine Yale to bring you a corner on the AM show. Please do enjoy that one.
There you are. There you are. I miss you guys so much. I mean, I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I mean, it's been what, decades? How long has it been since we saw each other? I think, yeah, it's definitely been decades because I miss you that much. Anyway, it's good to be back. It's great to be on your screens one more time. I'm hoping you're having a lovely morning. It's the morning after the budget. Did it go in your favor? I mean, did the finance minister say anything that you were looking forward to? Were your expectations met? Well, we'll leave that for Kojo Brace and Mami A.C. Thompson to deal with that. Let's look at the creative aspect of the morning, and that's where I come in. I'm Noella Karen Yale. If it's your first time watching, well, this is E-Corner, and I'm excited to be coming your way with a lot of stories and a lot of things that have been happening in the world of showbiz. Let's begin with Samini. So this week, a lot of our artists have been, you know, sharing gems. They've been very deep in your thoughts, you know, very introspective, looking within, taking a look at your journeys and, you know, had some nuggets to share with both up and coming and the rest of the world. And I thought to clip, you know, some of these beautiful gems and share them with you as well. And so I'll be telling you about Samini. I know he has a single out. Well, we'll talk more about that single. He's also been performing. Well, he performed at the just ended Ghana Journalist Association's awards, or should I say the GJ Awards. And that performance did not go too well. And so he's been speaking about it. I'll bring you that. But first, let's talk about his advice. He's been admonishing young musicians to, instead of really invest your money, because obviously when you're young and you're hot and you're releasing, you get money, right? And so he says if you have a lot of money, instead of putting them into cars, flashy cars and gadgets and women, invest in land. And there's a reason why he's giving you that advice. Take a look.
Buy a lot of land.
Ooh. Buy a lot of land.
Yeah. It's one of the things I did when I was very young.
Okay.
When the money was coming plenty and I didn't know what to do with it. One of the things that one of my elder rastas that I used to go, you know, reason with on Sabbath, Ailey, you know, Jam Africa, if you're listening to me, big up yourself.
Wow.
So the old man told me, because I used to buy like different cars, like I was young, 22, Usha has car, so like I had options. So anytime I'll go and check the old man, I have a different whip. And he's like, my youth, you see car depreciate. And you see land appreciate. If you buy a car today, 10 years from today, it will depreciate. If you buy land today, after 10 years, you can sell it about 100 folds. So basically, if you're listening to me as a young artist, though you see the flashy things, you like the flashy things, some of it is good for your branding and everything, but do things in moderation, stash some of the money away. If you don't know what to do with it, buy land with it. Because land appreciates. You'd be surprised how much a plot of land is in a place where 5 years ago it was sold for 5,000 cedis. You'd be surprised. So if you don't know what to do with the income, and you've done everything you can for yourself and you can still see excess, buy land. I believe in that more than even investing in the banks.
Okay. All right.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, I think it's an advice that even beyond artists, normal people can also pay heed to, if you ask me, because those were some really, really thoughtful advice that he gave to the young artists that, look, instead of, buying the cars, we're not saying don't buy the cars, buy it, because we all love we all like to be in a Range Rover or something, right? So buy the cars, feel good about yourself. Some of the things that you used to envisage when you were not so, much at the top or whatever you envisaged, whatever you thought about, buy them. But also invest in something meaningful, something you can turn around in times where you're not as hot as you would love to be, right? So that's good. And it's something that I am paying attention to as well. But aside that, like I said, he performed at the GJA Awards. First of all, let me say congratulations to my people at Joy FM's Showbiz A to Z. I'm proud to say that I was a part of that show at its, okay, not at its beginning stage, maybe 2 years, but then, yeah, I contributed my quota to the success of that show. And so congratulations to all of us at Showbiz A to Z. They won the Best Entertainment Radio Program at the GJA Awards. And so shouts to Philip Nye, shouts to Kwame Datsi. You all are the real MVPs. But yeah, Samini performed at the GJA Awards. And if you know Samini, you know that he is noted for quality, top-notch, perfectly and well-curated performances. There's never been a show, a Samini show I have attended, or even if it's not his show, a show where he's billed to perform and he's flopped with his performance, right? Or his performances. But this time at the GJA Awards, we saw him in a different, not the way we know the Samini to be. He had challenges, basically, with his performances at the GJA Awards. And so I saw him somewhere talk about it to a blogger. He was visibly upset, frustrated, because obviously he would have loved to give his best. But apparently the organizers got some things wrong. And so this week when he came by Hits FM, they had a conversation and asked him about it. And he's been sharing those insights with us. Take a look.
So I originally was not billed to perform on that show.
Oh.
So a friend is the current president of the GJA Awards.
Okay.
And of GJA actually.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I was out of town when I got back 2 days prior to the event. Then he called and said, so wabadia, Mr.
Okay.
So it was on that tip that I went there.
Okay.
2, the performance bit. I think for a live performer, every once in a while, you should expect glitches here and there because it's a live thing, a lot of things happening at the same time. So with this very incident, my monitors on stage were off.
Oh.
Yeah, so every live performer would understand what that means.
All right, so that was Samini explaining why he had, quote unquote, a poor performance at the GJA Awards. And after he made this assertion explaining what happened, I've seen a lot of people on social media say, oh, why would you come out to lambast, the organizers? These things, they happen with performances. And so he should have just taken it as one of those things and just let it go, let it slide. But no, his reputation is at stake here, right? Like I said earlier, this is somebody who is not known for bad performances or poor performances. He has been able to carve a niche for himself as somebody that really takes his performances serious and invests a lot of time, a lot of thought, and a lot of craft and art to what he does. And so for somebody not doing their job, for that to impact his performance, you cannot expect him to take the blame. He has to explain. He has to give some sort of explanation to his fans who probably were looking forward, who were in the auditorium and looking forward to a great, performance from him, but did not. He has to explain that, listen, and that's the GJA organizers. And so for me, I totally understand him. And it was in place for him to explain to us why he had that bad performance. But anyway, let's move away from that and talk about his protege. I'm talking about Stonebwoy. So I know that somewhere last year, 2024, CNN had a feature. They did a beautiful feature piece on Stonebwoy where he talked about how he hopes to use his music and his craft and his art to unite Black people in the diaspora. And you would think that it was one of those things that he would want to say because it's CNN, it's a big, media platform out there, international media platform. So let's say something that really makes us appear like, yeah, we're woke and we're G and, we're all about Africa unite. But no, he was actually very serious about it because a year after, he was on a platform where you're seeing excerpts of where he was at. I'm going to give you a sound up so you can listen. Where he was asked, I'm not sure about the question he was asked, but he said something really, really, you know what? Just take a listen.
When I was born and I started to realize myself, I look at my skin and I'm Black. Then I traveled to Jamaica many years after and I see they're Black. Then I come to America, I see they're Black, and you want to tell me Blacks come from different places of Black? No. As far as I'm concerned, Black comes from Africa, that's it. And that's the motherland.
Let's go.
So to even start with the conversation of I'm Black American and the level of superior feeling against the Black from Africa, due to a lot of things that we can go ahead and talk about, I've realized there are stages of mentality. Even in the Caribbean, one guy saw me one time driving on the road to Ochi. He said, yes, I want to sell way out, see them Black man, see them people from Africa, them real African, them sell way out. Yeah. I'm like, I was not part of that system. I didn't put a hand in whatever. But that is the mentality. So it tells you that there are a lot of things that have been said and have been told about Africa. Africa to the Africans in the diaspora, and they literally feel like we live on trees and all the other stuff that is not the right picture. Meanwhile, when I come to New York, I see filth. I come to LA, I see filth. I'm like, you see, it's all about appropriation and what the media tells us and shows us. So they're using things that are supposed to unite us to separate us. So we now have to use a diverse and various uniqueness that we have to unite us back. And music is the only one tool that can do that.
Amazing. Like father, like son, right? Very intelligent, if you ask me. Well, I've always known Stonebwoy to be very deep, and so I'm not surprised. And I have friends in the diaspora who tell me that, look, Noella, when you come here, like the Black Americans, I don't know why, but they like to hate on the Africans. They say you've come for your jobs, and these are jobs that, they wouldn't do anyway. But I mean, that's aside the point. The point is, a lot of these Black Americans feel they're a little bit whiter than we Africans are just because they were born there. They have an American passport or whatever country it is, passport, right? But the truth of the matter is, just like what Stonebwoy is saying, once you're Black, you're an African. You may dispute it, but I strongly believe that. And if you see a fellow Black person, I don't think it augurs well to want to look at that person in a condescending manner or make them feel like, oh, you're not like me, when clearly we both have the same skin color, right? Yeah, so I definitely agree with Stonebwoy sharing those gems with the people in that room. But anyway, let's talk about Black Sheriff, another very deep artist. I'm a fan of that guy's mind. His mind is beautiful, I think. And he came by the Hit Studios, had a beautiful conversation with Doreen Avio and Kwame Datsi. And he talked about his musical journey, talked about dealing with anxiety, dealing with expectations, especially when you're a young artist and you just came in and you're doing this music thing and there's a lot of fans, a lot of praises, a lot of people singing your praises, and how that impacts your mental health and all of that. It was beautiful what he shared with us. Take a look.
I like this. But first I'll say, I read somewhere that self-doubt is like self-doubt. I think it's the highest sign of intelligence or something like that. Because then you know you don't know too much. And like I said, as above, so below. If you can be very, very smart, you can be so dumb as well. So it was really, you know, when you're a kid, some part of me still is a kid though. There's a desire for instant gratification.
Okay.
That was when, you know, you start the music, you start writing, and like, you want to be famous by tomorrow. You understand? And that kind of gives you some heavy anxiety and all of that. And then you start see some success, you get on some stage and you see how not prepared you are. And then you start taking things a day at a time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I think I was anxious for nothing. Sometimes I get anxious for nothing.
Okay.
But like, it's believing that you will get there. Sometimes I don't even feel like I've started. You don't feel like it sometimes, because every day I feel very new and a student. I stay a student of this music thing, and I'm a nerd about it. I'm a nerd about the music. Like, my high is in the music.
Yeah.
It's not really in the applause. The only side of the applause that I like is when I'm able to create room around the music, and then in your head for you to think about the music. It's like presenting the music, right? To say what was the question. Now I answer, but answer no. It feels like an answer, but it's still like a question to you too.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. That's my high about the music. That's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me going back to the studio every time.
Wow. You know, this young man is one that I personally can stay a whole day just listening to him, because I think, like I said, I think he has a beautiful mind, and he's only 23 years old. I mean, I don't know what to say, but yeah, that's him sharing his journey, sharing, you know, like I said, anxiety, how he deals with anxiety, how he deals now with his craft and the expectations. And I love something he said, that, you know, he stays a nerd with music. There's never a time where he feels like, oh, I know this, I've cracked the code, I know this thing too well, I'm good. Like, every now and then it's an opportunity for him to learn. And for me, that's a sign of a great person, when you stay learning and you're not too haughty. Yeah, that's great. But anyway, let me wrap up with Kris Jenner, my girl, Kris Jenner. You know, she invited me. She celebrated her birthday, her 70th birthday in California. She invited me, but, you know, I was late, so I missed my flight. I couldn't go. My director said, stop it. I'm telling you, Kris is my girl. Listen, the party she had, it was beautiful. First of all, let me give you a little bit of details about this party. So first of all, it was a James Bond inspired party. And so that explains the 0070. If you know, you know. If you're a James Bond fan, you know. And he had the party in one of Jeff Bezos' house, okay, one of his houses. And the party was so fun. The neighbors in the neighborhood had to call the police on them because I guess they were making too much noise. Like, it was a gathering of the creme de la creme of Hollywood. Everybody who has a name was at that party, from Oprah Winfrey to Bill Gates to Mark Zuckerberg and his wife Priscilla Shan to that Canadian investor, I've forgotten it, something Kives, to Beyonce and her mother, to Mariah Carey, to Ciara. If you were not at that party, you're not Day Hollywood, though. Like, you should cancel yourself out. That's her and her beautiful daughters. I mean, it was a beautiful party, if you ask me. What a way to celebrate your 70th. And listen, it wasn't just about her celebrating her 70th birthday. It was a celebration of legacy, a celebration of fashion, and really their relevance in the Hollywood culture. And so, yeah, it was really, really great to watch from afar, enjoy, even though I should have been there. But yeah, Chris, I'm going to make it up to you, girl. I'm going to make it up to you. But that's it. That's how we're wrapping up with E-Corner on a very high note. But of course, Mamiesi Thompson is up next with, okay, my bad. But anyway, whatever that is next is next. My name is Noella Karaniali, and I'll see you next Friday. You be good, all right? Mwah, mwah, mwah.